packs of toys, then we break through. Unbox the fire, showcase the find. Collectors worldwide, all one of a kind. ToyLeet, we set the pace. Elite with the heat in this plastic race. ToyLeet, not just a name, we're the culture, the vibe, the collecting flame. Click, snap, pose, it's more than display. We stack with style, redefining play. Custom builds, epic drops, from stream to shelf, we never stop. ToyLeet, it's not just toys, it's legacy we stack. ToyLeet's the movement, and we're never looking back.
Whoa, man, it's not like there's no auto shut off to that, man. It
No.
just keeps going.
We got spoiled with the intro automatic.
Right.
What's up, brother?
Exactly. Good, man, good. Just trying to get things wrapped up here on some side screen. I'm doing good, man. Just going late. Technical glitches as usual. Trying to switch over, but we're getting there.
Yeah, someone said we're late, but we're here. We're not just late. We're 24 hours and 20 minutes late.
24 hours and
15 minutes late.
14 minutes late?
Yeah.
Something like that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all good, man.
It's always
good.
it's always a
We're
ride,
here.
man. It's always a ride for sure.
You know, life happens,
Awesome.
man.
Yeah, you guys start planning, and that's when God starts laughing,
Yeah.
saying that song or something like that.
Yeah, last night my
Good deal.
daughter was flying home. My oldest was in South Carolina visiting my middle daughter, who was in the Air Force down there. And she was
Okay.
supposed to leave yesterday morning, and there was a storm, so it got delayed. Then it got delayed again. So then she missed her connecting flight in Washington, D.C. And then I went to the airport and got home at 1 o'clock in the morning, and she still was in Washington, D.C. So,
Oh man, fun times, fun times.
Yeah.
All right, I got wires falling all over my desk over here. Sorry for the distracting on-screen presence.
all good, man. All
But,
good.
rocking and rolling now. We got everything lined up. I think we're good. Think I figured it out. We'll see. You never know.
You never know.
But yeah, no, we're doing good, man. Last week you had our buddy Skunkworks on to cover for me as I was traveling a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're, you covered there as usual. You offered to let me run solo or with a guest host last night, and I just checked, and sounded like you were still good to go tonight. So
Yep.
just pivoted. Yesterday was an interesting day. We lost a great musician yesterday, and actually lost a good friend myself yesterday too. One that had a heart attack. He's 41, passed away.
Damn.
Unfortunately. Had some issues there, I guess, and I hadn't kept too good in touch with him, but God rest his soul, and to best of his family and whatnot. So this was a rough day.
Malcolm Jamal Warner also died.
I saw that on I think it was Monday, but
Monday.
Yeah. It was an interesting day because the gentleman that passed away, a friend of mine, very close childhood friend, knew him from when I was very young. I don't remember many days that I wasn't with him and around him until I was about 15, 16 years old. So very, very close to him. And unfortunately got the news yesterday afternoon of his of his heart attack and subsequent, passing. And he and I went to Ozfest back in 2000 together, and he's the one that introduced me to Ozzy Osbourne and that music some 20, so I'd say like 24 years ago, probably at this point.
Yeah.
And, as a result, I popped that music on a little bit last night, and it was a little somber. So it was probably best that we were able to postpone till tonight, personally, from that perspective.
Really crazy, too, that he just did that farewell tour concert, like a week or two ago. Not like it was just 2 weeks ago or something like that.
Yep. Yeah, it was interesting. I guess he sounded really good. My son did mention that he heard people were booing at his show a couple weeks ago because he was sitting in a chair the whole time. I think those people were probably people that weren't aware that he'd been dealing with Parkinson's since 2019, and that obviously he was fighting cancer right now.
What do they want him to do? He's got Parkinson's. old. He's not going to get up there and thrash around like he used to. I mean, come on.
I heard he sounded good though. I heard he
He
still
did sound
sounded
all
good.
right. I mean,
Yeah.
as you get older, your vocal cords, of course, are not anywhere near as good as they are when you're a young man. So I mean, he definitely
Yeah.
didn't sound like the traditional Ozzy, but he didn't sound bad. He wasn't off pitch or anything like that. He just, you
Right.
don't hit the high notes like you used to be able to and stuff like that. So,
Yeah. I saw him.
but
I saw him 25 years ago
I saw him
in
at Ozfest. Yeah,
2000.
probably around the same time, 99, 2000, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was 2000. He was here. They had Pantera just down the road from where I am now in Saratoga Springs.
Yeah, that's the one that
And
I was at, actually. Yeah, not that one,
oh
not
man.
Saratoga, but the one with
Oh, I was gonna
Pantera and all
say.
that. No, no, he was up here
Yeah.
in Rich Stadium in Buffalo.
Okay. Yeah, it was a great concert, and
Yeah,
um, yeah, lost two great people yesterday. Him as a musician, and the influence that he had on the entire musical industry, and a good friend of mine who influenced me a ton. He was we used to joke he was the Diesel to me being Shawn Michaels. He was the big tall guy who always protected my mouth running, trash talking, egotistical, super, in your face style attitude to people, and he always covered my ass when I was little. So God rest his
sounds
soul.
like me
So
and my
yeah,
older brother, except I covered his ass, and he's the one that runs his mouth.
yeah, I was a little bit smaller than him, and like 100 pounds when he was probably like closer to 180 pounds, and he was
My
probably half a foot taller than me.
Yeah,
So yeah,
my older brother introduces me as his younger, bigger brother.
that's that's kind of how my brother does it with me. But my brother's taller than I am, and he's younger, but he does the inverse, right? He's like, "That's my older little brother."
Yep.
So I get that. I get that same spiel there. So
So,
good deal.
you get any pickups this week?
Oh goodness, no. I don't think so. I
Nope.
didn't get anything. I did have a friend that was at Ollie's, and he messaged me a photo of some WWE Ultimates and Elites that
Nice.
were on clearance there, and he did grab me one that I'm gonna give to my son at some point. That was just so cheap I couldn't pass it up.
Oh yeah.
How about yourself?
I got one thing in the mail today.
Okay.
That is the GI Joe Legacy Firefighter.
Oh, okay.
What
That's
a
the one
great
where they're doing like the police officer and all that stuff,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, what a great figure he is. I mean, the joints are really good. The accessories, camera switched. Accessories it comes with are amazing. He's got a big axe, a big sledge, and then two hatchets, a small handle sledge, jaws of life, the helmet, the breather mask, a pair of goggles, and like a blanket, to put on like people that they pull out of the fires and stuff, those blankets they use.
Okay.
Crazy. I mean, he's priced as a deluxe figure, $35 or whatever, but I, as a collector of the Adventure Team, which was, the 12-inch GI Joes, they had firefighters and policemen and stuff like that. So I had to get him.
Okay.
I've gotten rid of most of my Joes now. I only have maybe 2 or 3 left. And where'd you go? Oh, I did. I'll show it again though. That's all right. But yeah, he's got really great artwork too on the box. Let me grab the box real quick.
Oh.
Got really nice artwork on the side for the firefighter, and then shows him in the back with all the accessories. And I like how they're putting the little legacy thing inside behind the actual figure plastic trays. So that's really nice. Yeah, they're doing good with their boxes again. So yeah, I would
Looks like an
definitely
improvement.
not flush him. He's definitely
Nice.
going up on the shelf.
So that's a ToyLeet figure. It's not getting
Yeah,
a flusher. So
not
one
getting a
pickup, one
flusher.
ToyLeet, one no
Yep.
toilet splashing.
So
Good
hopefully
deal.
they still put the policeman out in December like they're planning on, and then we'll be able to have a whole city set.
Good deal. Yeah, I know there was some holdups on that a little bit or something. So
Yeah,
some
politics gets
delays,
in the
but
way, but
we'll see. Exactly.
Want to hit the chat up real
Exactly.
quick?
Yeah, let's hit up the chat before we go into the main topic this week. Which before you go into the topic, sorry, a little bit. I was still tweaking some slides as we were talking just now. I got that all in order. So we are the ToyLeet. We're a little bit late to the table, about 24 hours, when we're supposed to. We get together every week. We talk about our plastic passion. We talk about action figures, action figure adjacent items. We also, we always typically we'll shout out someone from the Crick. I know this week it's a little different. And then we also do our ToyLeet or Toilet segment, which Ed just did kind of go over. We're doing some tweaks to the software we're using, so don't have some of the sound bites we normally use. But once we get that kind of tweaked through, we'll have that back in. But we also talk about a main topic every week. This week we're talking about breaking the mold, independent toy makers, and kind of the impact that they have on the industry right now, and consumer dollars. But we also have other things like I said, the shout out. We do our weekly news, which is a focus on the independent toy news. That's really what we talk about. There's other guys out there that do the other stuff, the mainstream. We'll be talking. I mean, I know there's a lot of stuff coming out of San Diego Comic-Con next couple days. We'll probably catch up on a little bit that next week where relevant. But there's gonna be a lot of mainstream attention on the main stuff like Hasbro and Mattel. You guys can go over to our buddy Punk with Toys and others to check them out. But yeah, go ahead and hit that chat up, Ed.
All right. We got Mudhorn Station Ian here with us saying Mana Mana. What's up, Ian? And we are Toy Tube official, as Nolan is in the house saying hi to everyone. Ian saying you might be 24 hours late, but so am I, so that works. Solid point. And Action Joe Fig saying hello to everyone. Oh, what's up, Action Joe? I am doing great, buddy. I had a great weekend and been busy the last couple of days, but other than that, busy's good. Keeps me out of trouble. Nolan saying that his Armies of Ashmore figures will finally be arriving tomorrow.
I
Got
saw
nailed
that.
with $79 import and tariff. Oof, that's rough, man. And let's see. Action Joe Fig saying got to see him in the early 80s in the Blizzard of Oz tour with Randy Rhoads. Oh, man. Randy Rhoads is amazing. And Ian saying, none of us hit the high notes like we used to. Ain't no doubt about that, brother. And we got Ostradamus Toys here saying, hello, friends. What's up, Oz?
What's up, dude?
And we got all the way from down under, Ronnie Trickshot saying, good day, boys. Just passing through today. Lots happening at once. We'll check the replay. Thank you much, Ronnie, for stopping in. Been looking for that Dan.
Sorry, I gotta cut you off. I gotta cut you off, Ed, real quick. I don't have the images to show, but if you guys aren't paying attention to Fig Vaults over on Instagram, he's got some photos of some WWE Mattel crossovers with Street Fighter. They got like Ultimate Warrior set up like Blanca, John Cena set up like who's the guy? The army guy. I can't think of his name. Galai or Gali, whatever his name is. Sorry, go ahead. You can go back to the chat, Ed. I just saw it up on my Instagram and it just popped up. The Rock is M. Bison.
Yeah, Action Joe. I actually ordered mine off of Amazon Prime delivery. They were here today, so that's how I did mine because I'm not going to go hunt for them. I don't have a Target close enough to bother with, and my Walmart doesn't carry Joe. So, and Brian from Endless Fables is here. What's up, Brian? Long time no see, brother. And the man, the myth, the legend himself, G.I. Jetman. What's up, G.I. Jetman? No need to say sorry you're late, brother. We're really late by a whole day. And then some.
Yeah. Late and multitasking on the...
That's right.
The
Plastic Skulls. What's up, Plastic Skulls? How you doing? Guile. Thanks, Mudhorn Station.
Thank you.
Ian got it. Guile. Oh. All right, man. That's it for the chat.
Oh, right, man. They're crushing it over at Mattel this year, man. But they always do with the wrestling stuff. But that's just going to be a huge geek and nerd for that stuff. Sorry. Cool. Thanks, guys, for jumping in. Yeah, definitely, I would say go check out your mainstream guys if you want to chat about that. I'll definitely be checking out like the Kyle Peterson and the Fig Vault guys to see what they're doing at San Diego Comic-Con. We got a bunch of buddies over there, actually. I know Mega J and the creator from El Dragoon's over there doing some stuff.
Yep,
so
Danny.
Yeah. Yep. Awesome. Here, let's jump into the main topic this week.
Yeah, Adam highly articulated there. Hi everyone, I'm full screen now. He learned how to do it, but he forgot how to undo it. So
There we go. Main topic.
Oh,
Yeah, at some point, there's like this main with something. I don't know what that means. Here.
I created a new
Okay.
one. Watch.
I saw that one too. I don't know
That one
what
could be
you were
deleted.
doing with that one.
That's what I was trying to set
Yeah.
up for last week, and the damn thing wouldn't
Yeah.
work. So
Okay, gotcha. Cool. Yeah, so I think we're seeing, I'm hoping folks are seeing the screen as I see it. I'm checking over here.
I
But it
don't see
looks
it.
like you don't see it?
I don't see it.
Now,
It's just
are
a
you
black,
seeing my,
just a blank screen. I don't know if everybody else could see it.
let me stop sharing. Let me try to share now. How about now?
Nope.
What the heck?
I
Give me
don't
a
even see
second.
it
I'll
at
come
the
right
bottom
back.
anymore. Yeah, Nolan and Ian are both saying it's a black screen. Thanks, guys. We'll get it figured out. Travis has so many screens he doesn't know which one he's using, so that's part of the problem.
No, I know which screen I'm using. I think, somebody gets in and messes with my formats sometimes with like
There we
squat
go.
and random stuff. So are we seeing it now?
Yeah, we're seeing it now. I'm seeing it
Okay,
anyway.
cool.
So
Awesome. Yeah, it's up on the YouTube channel too. I can see it.
All
Awesome.
right.
So, welcome back, ToyLeet fam. This week we're gonna be heading into yeah, that's not the thing. It didn't update for me. Yeah. Sorry. Hold
Who
on.
lied to you
So this
about
week
that,
we'll be
Oz?
focusing. Yeah. Sorry, we're
Last week
supposed to be
was
pros.
supposed
No,
to
I'm
be
not a
pros.
pro.
Yeah, we ain't pros.
I don't got pro anything. So going back to it, right? So this week we're gonna be breaking the mold, kind of talking about independent toys, toy makers specifically, kind of talking about Ramen Toys, Bobby Val over at Valaverse. We're gonna talk about the Four Horsemen crew, Savage Crucible from Harvinger Studios, Spero AWalk guys. Talk about those folks. We're gonna talk about kind of some of the impacts of those guys, and there's a lot of other ones that are out there, which Ed, I'll lean to you to kind of bring in some of that context too. But we'll talk about them, talk about some of the things that they've been doing that's really changing the game, and really, in my opinion, what I would say, putting the main guys, the Mattels, the Hasbros, those guys, putting them on notice, right? And we'll talk about how some of that's changed. But we'll be focusing on that when we get into the main topic. Normally, we would go into the focus on the shout out from the Crick, but this week we're not doing a shout out from the Crick. We're just going to go plug our boys over at Hello Dope Toys and remind folks that they are working on their journey to 1K. So I think they're picking back up this Sunday, and they're going to come back fast and furious.
They were going to launch.
and
They were going to launch their Road to 1K YouTube subs last week, this past Sunday. But
Yep.
Ted was really sick, so he couldn't do it. So
Yep.
I know most people here are probably sub to their YouTube. If you're not, get on over there and sub to Hello Dope Toys on YouTube and help them get to 1,000. I think when I checked earlier today, they were at 850. So they got a little bit of a ways to go, but not too far.
No, not bad at all. That's awesome. Yeah, so normally we go there for a shout out, but we're just going to plug those guys for that. You might see them strategically placed in the show later on as a further plug. That said, we're going to jump into the news this week. So I'm going to go ahead and take point here. Really what it comes down to is that, stop posting your figs, folks. Put down your hobby knives, and listen up because the toy world just got weirder. From biblical warriors lighting up nightstands to werewolves clawing their way through wallets, backers getting rewards even though things may go south. The headlines are messy and the news is loud, and I'm here to deliver it with zero articulation limits. This ain't your grandma's news segment, so I'm Mr. Wonderful, and you're watching the ToyLeet Network News, where the figures are fierce, the facts are flexible, and your pre-orders, they're never safe. So let's go. And with that said, we're going to jump in real quick to some updates from the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. You can see them this weekend over at the San Diego Comic Con on the 27th at 6:30. They'll be in room 10, I guess. They'll be there with Patrick Wang from the Zujitsu brand. Jason from Spero Toys will be there representing AWalk. Adam Van Wickler from the Cursed Dead. Wade Merrick, another YouTuber there from Unparalleled Universe. He's also the one that made the Sasquatch that came out I think last year. They'll also have special guest David Vonner joining them, and then they'll also have Esteban Cifuentes from the Fist action figure line. So you'll see a number of independent creators, which I think is really cool because that's what we're talking about later on tonight and what we focus our news on to begin with. But they'll be talking about some behind the scenes, information regarding the independent toy lines. Another update from the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom. They are wrapping up for some items on the Primal Series 2, Wave 1. That does include the Kickstarter figures, King Hannibal, Kali Prime, Grimes, Lord Oxidus. It does also include the non-Kickstarter figures that were announced and previewed, I want to say, all the way back at PowerCon maybe 2023, and that's the Void, and also what was recently announced probably late last year, early this year maybe, Felonious Barton, which was one of the exclusives that they had planned to have for I think Atlanta or one of those conventions. They do have the samples expected to be shipped to Spero in August, and backers are expected to have those shipments in hand potentially around November, is based on what I had. They're going to have some remaining figures going to Legions Con in November, I believe, and then to retail. There were some delays due to a number of factors. Obviously, everyone's very well aware of the international trade tariff slowdowns. There was, as a result, some factory backlogs, but also that Spero decided to take the direction of removing the pins and going with pinless transition across the number of the bucks. So that was a large portion of the delays. But yeah, some updates from the Animal Warriors of the Kingdom and Spero Toys. Again, catch them this weekend at San Diego Comic-Con. Hopefully, somehow that audio video gets recorded and broadcast for those of us lackeys that are not traveling there. Quick update from the Four Horsemen. They too will be at San Diego Comic-Con after not having been there in quite some time. I believe the main and primary focus for them is some brand awareness around the role-playing game debut for that Mythic Legions role-playing game. There will be some Paladin Cleric availables in limited quantities. And then they'll also be showcasing some Horror of the Inimzil, Mythic, and Cosmic prototypes. So they will have those items, and you can see them there during the week at booth 3245. Quick update from Fresh Monkey Fiction. This kind of covers Fresh Monkey and the Big Bad Toy group there. They're all kind of falling in the same bucket. They had a few items come out the last week or so, with the first one being around that Raven Society post-Final Days reimagined in toy form. So they're going to be building off of that. There's supposed to be a larger reveal at San Diego Comic-Con this week, booth 3229, where you can see the Big Bad Workshop, and Toynami, I believe, is their partner on this one. Again, it's from the creators of Monster Force, so I know Ed's all about that, and you guys can definitely check those items out. We're looking forward to seeing more information come out about that as they have the full reveal. They did mention a slogan, a place where fiction meets reality. So we'll see for sure how this parlays into their next adventure for sure. They also have announced the the Gridiron Warfare. And they're going to be launching that and going again through that information. You should be able to find more information around that. They did have some taglines where it said Skull Crushers or something on there that I saw floating around. You know their flaming logo. You've seen them around. There are no prototypes that were shown that I'm aware of, but the details are kind of under wraps. But you can definitely, assume that there will be some gear-heavy, military-style action figure accessories, and they're definitely a premium quality look and feel. A lot of folks like those. A little pricey, but with them partnering with Big Bad, there's a chance that price point could come down, I would assume. So look forward to seeing what they announce this weekend. Next up, we got some updates over from Savage Crucible. and you have the image here. I'm not going to try to read this out loud. It might embarrass you guys how well I can speak this tongue, but unfortunately, they did post this today. I have not spent the time to decipher it, but I do recognize what they're saying here, and it's extremely exciting. So I would highly recommend you guys check it out. And if you don't have your decipher coin, you should definitely get one if you can find one. They also released some of the maps and posted those online. And they also, which I covered with Brick something a week or so ago, he and I, sat down and talked about Savage Crucible pretty heavily. And they actually did a remodel of their website where you can see all of the lore and history around the different waves and the connections between the characters. And they did a really good job representing that. So I would highly recommend going and seeing what they have over on the SavageCrucible.com website if you want to get a better look and feel of what the Savage Crucible line looks like and the history behind it. Additionally, they did recently announce that on August 1st, they will have an in-stock sale. Some Wave 2 leftovers. It is limited. It is extremely limited. There will be no advance notice. First come, first savage is the way we call it. So looking forward to folks if you want to get your hands on that. I personally don't think I need any more stock on this one right now, but I would highly recommend getting your hands on it, as it has been a very clear expectation there will be no re-releases or issues of the same exact figure. So if you do not have these and have not gotten them, now is the time, as you probably will never see the same ones again at a retail price. And last but not least, we have the Valaverse. They've made some updates and announcements. They did announce that they have the Splinter Cell reveal. That was actually announced at DFW, but there was some teasers posted online recently of the Splinter Cell Valaverse crossover IP licensing agreement, hinting towards those figures coming. I think that's a huge item. We'll talk again more about that here in the future, but I'm sure there's a lot of folks that are excited for some Sam Fisher action figures. Additionally, they announced some Tyrians online sales and the Wounded Warriors sale. They will have a sale going this Friday from 11 to noon on their website. They have a bunch of wounded items. Those are discounted loose worthy figures, banged up boxes, that type of thing. They do have some retired figures in very limited numbers. They do have the Praetorian Fury and Wraith, limited to 3 per customer. Some of the retired items they do have are like Bone Collector version 2, Urban Commando, some Triggers, a few Geminis, some more Path Eclipse, Desert Condor, and a couple Sergeant Slaughters. So it's your last chance to get some of these figures, probably again at retail. Definitely check it out so you can get your hands on it if you haven't yet. And with that said, that's what I got for the news this week.
All right. Great stuff.
You want to hit the chat up real quick?
Yeah, I had a comment I was going to make about the news, and I forgot what it was now. So,
Oh,
if it
Big
comes
Bad?
back to me, no. If it comes back to me, I'll spit it out. But Manhose
Gotcha.
is here saying Fresh Monkey Fiction Raven Society is looking interesting. Yeah, I agree, man. I'm definitely excited to see what that's going to be about. Thanks for stopping by, Manhoza. And Cobweb
Yes, sir.
Collectors here.
What's up, Cobb?
And Brian saying that was the Felonious with Joe Lanta. That's what I was going to say, too. That was for
Joe Lanta. Thank you. I knew it was one of the Atlanta
Yeah.
Joe Con things.
And I think Manhose is talking about the stuff from Fresh Monkey Fiction, but not really sure. Pretty cool that Savage is
yeah.
doing an in-stock sale. I can't wait for that.
Yeah. If the Savage stuff is just awesome, man.
Yeah,
You know
it's
that.
absolutely
I'm a huge advocate for it. I I've got so much of it. I've got a bag of stuff. I still got a box of stuff I'm trying to work my way through. I may have recently found this thing sitting here somewhere, which, gosh knows how long ago I picked that up. But that was last year. I think I ordered that figure. But yeah, another one of those I just found, opened, and I started unboxing the other day. I guess I got a new get. I just didn't realize I already had.
Yeah.
But
real
yeah,
quick,
so Savage
Action
stuff's
Joe Figs is
huge.
saying he's really excited for the Action Force 1944 which is coming
Yeah,
soon.
and we'll
Yeah.
we'll keep an eye on that and update on that in coming weeks and
Yep.
months for sure. We covered that the last time we had the news on because Valaverse has been kind of slowly posting the DFW content over the last several weeks, and I tried to get what was most recent in the last 7 days or so. So yeah, that we covered the 1944 stuff. It'll be interesting to see what they do with that. I personally am really interested in the Splinter Cell stuff. Again, I've gotten out of the military stuff, but I think that's a really good thing for them. I guess
Yeah.
that's. Was there any other comments you wanted to cover real quick?
No, I think the Splinter Cell is a good move for them. That'll fit right in. I think it'll fit better than that White Ninja property they're trying to get. Because Splinter
Oh
Cell take
yes,
the stuff they already do, the military esque stuff, and just make it fit. So good
yeah,
move for them. I'm looking forward to the 1944 stuff. It's going to be interesting to see how he does it, considering he said it's going to be like in the same Valaverse universe. So it'll be interesting to see
yeah,
how he does that because, I mean, not that you can't make Nazi figures because Joy Toy does it with their Germans and Russians and all that.
yeah.
And yeah, Brian, I'm looking forward to seeing what their pirates end up looking like too. I saw the pictures, but um, we'll see how it actually ends up looking because they're pretty cool looking.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's it, dude.
Awesome. So we'll jump into the main topic again. We're going to be diving into, the underground, right? It's where we spend all of our time. The world where imagination breaks the mold and factory limits mean nothing. That's right. It's all about custom creations, the figures you wish existed, brought to life by the most creative collectors out there. Whether it's a dream match, a lot. What the heck? Why is that? My stuff's all messed up. My slides are messed up. I'm reading from stuff. Jeez, man. Okay, we're moving on. So this week it's toy break. Jesus Christ, man, I messed up. Sorry, guys. Yeah,
Want to start
breaking the
over? All
mold.
right.
Yeah, yeah. Let's
ToyLeet
let's cut
Takeover,
that.
breaking the mold, independent toy makers and their impact. Take two.
Yeah. So welcome. This is the main topic. We're here talking about Toilet Takeover. We're going to be breaking the mold with the independent toy makers and their impact. How they're kind of changing the game, right? They're putting the mainstream creators like Hasbro and Mattel on notice, right? And even in some ways, I would dispute, and we'll get a little bit into it. That some of these independent toy makers are putting other independent toy makers on notice and telling them to up their game, and they are, which is awesome for us. So, we're going to cover into that space, right? So we're going to be, we're going to be shining. Here we go. Here we go. Now I'm in the right spot. Okay. So, we're going to be, shining a spotlight on the rebels, the risk takers, the creative juggernauts that are shaking up the toy world. These indie creators aren't just making toys, they're redefining what collecting means, right? Ed, we've talked about this. This is what we talk about every week. We talk about independent toys. We talk about the Valaverse. We talk about the Big Bad, and we talk about even some of the things like Street Fighter figures by why can't I
Jada.
think of the name? Jada.
Jada
They're
Toys.
not the mainstream guys. Yeah, they're newer to the action figure space. I would say they're kind of between our independent toys and those leaders like Mattel and
Yeah, I mean
Hasbro.
they never did action figures in the mass markets. Their mass market stuff was
Exactly.
always die-cast versions of things. So it's
Yep.
interesting to see them. It's really interesting to see Jada because they dove into action figures and they've got one of the best lines out there right now. As far as
Absolutely.
articulation and stuff, and the Scooby Doo figures
Plastic
looking
quality.
great too.
Yep, yep, absolutely. So these folks, and we're going to be featuring and focusing on, like I said, Valaverse, Four Horsemen, Harvinger Studios, Ramen Toys, and Spero Toys. There's a number of reasons, right? One offers an interesting perspective because of some of the ways they handle things. The other one, because they're four of the lines that we either have collected pretty heavily or we follow very closely, even if we're not actively collecting as much anymore. But Ed, a couple opening questions, right, as we dive into the topic is, what was the first indie line that caught your attention and why?
I'm gonna have to say the first indie toy line I probably jumped into was Valaverse because I was starting to pick up some of the jokes, and this was back, of course, when Classify was just kicking off, and I wasn't I mean, I was okay with them, but I wanted more, right? There wasn't enough of the figures I was able to get my hands on, not living close to a Target and everything, you know. So, um, Valaverse was easy to get. You know, started buying them from Hella Dope and directly from Vala site itself. So, I mean, and then it was followed up really closely with AWalk. So, I mean, I dove into,
Yeah.
Valaverse, got a couple from their wave 2 and probably jumped into AWalk within a month or two, because
Okay.
just, timing. It was just, I saw the first couple, picks and stuff for the Spero toys, and I was like, yeah, I got to have a couple of those, being a Planet of the Apes fan as I am.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think for me, I mean, I've probably said it 100 times before, but I was a pro wrestling collector. That was really it. I mean, that's all the plastic I collected. My boys collected the mainstream Marvel Legends, and my youngest son collected the Power
Yeah.
Rangers from Hasbro. But I was very Mattel wrestling centric.
I
That
was
said,
very heavily 1/6 scale until the
oh
classified came
wow,
out, and I picked up Gung Ho and I think Flint, and then I picked
yep,
up, I think, Trigger and a couple of like the Bobby's like army builder dudes, whatever they were called back then.
absolutely, yep,
And then
yeah. That's how it worked for me.
yeah, and I shifted over. A lot of my 1/6 scale stuff is still in storage. I got some of it out, but it was a lot easier just to throw those in a bag and go take pictures in the woods and stuff with them at that
Oh, for
point in
sure.
time. And I just kind of just gravitated towards that side of that scale. So
Yeah,
real quick, let me just
yeah,
run through the chat real quick. Got a
absolutely.
question and a couple new people. GI Jetman, is there a pre-order date for the Little Red Riding Hood? I'm going to say probably not until closer to the end of the year. The guys at Fresh Monkey Fiction don't like to release too many new pre-orders for the next wave until this wave shows up, and the next wave should be hitting Big Bad around mid-August, so just a couple weeks from now. And then you'll probably start seeing some pre-orders pop up. I know they did put up Chatsworth, the Sasquatch, but um, his mold and stuff is already done. So Bill told me at Joe
He
Fest
looks
that
good.
once they start the pre-orders, it'll basically just be going into production. So
Yeah, and
hopefully
that
that.
Chadsworth
So
looks
I'd
really
say
good.
probably Red Riding Hood, Jetman, because of where they are. Probably not until fall time. I bet you'd see the next announcement, because fall kind of ties into their Halloween Monster Force type of thing. And
Yeah.
the man himself, the man with the best mustache and beard in the business and the sexiest bald
Oh
head next to
yeah.
Skunk, Jeff Skunkworks
Best
is here.
co-host in the history.
Yeah,
The best co-host in the history of ToyLeet Takeover.
that's right.
Right.
Action Joe
I mean,
Fig
I'm
says
talking over
predominantly.
you. You're talking over me.
Yeah, it's all right, man. We'll figure it out. He Action Joe Fig says he predominantly collects 1/6 scale, except for Valaverse. He really likes their stuff. They make great figures, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. And Nolan jumping in saying his was Spero Toys in the AWalk line for his first indies. That's good.
Yeah.
And Jeff saying, "Sup, bro?" And Brian's saying that my indie timeline is creepily close to his, which is also creepily close to yours. So
Yeah, it's so similar. I feel like there's so many people like such good toy lines like those Joes. I got a couple off the shelf, right?
yep.
And then I wanted to expand them, so I luckily I got into the Valaverse site right when he must have got like his shipments in or whatever. And
Yeah.
I didn't back the Kickstarter, but I was able to snag at least one of everything that I wanted right from the jump. Even some of the
You got
more
wave one though,
hard to
right? You
get.
jumped in at wave one, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I got in at wave one. So I mean, I was able to get all of those earlier, and I still have them. All of the earlier army builders and stuff with the accessory packs and stuff that folks wanted. So I lucked out with that. But then I pivoted when I saw the Savage Crucible Kickstarter. I was very interested in that. I saw a lot of clearance on the Masterverse figures and our targets and stuff, and I was like, oh, those would go good with the Savage Crucible figures, but they're a couple years out. And then I came across the Animal Warriors: The Kingdom, and I was like, hold on a second, how's this all going to work together? And as a result, I was lucky. Hella Dope Toys got a whole boatload of boxes of Spero stuff in early on,
Yep.
so I was getting that that stuff, I think, before a lot of the pre-orders from Big Bad were getting fulfilled,
Hmm.
just because of the arrival of the shipment. So
Yeah, Helidope was
I got
sending
in
out
really
those
early.
AWOCs faster than Big Bad was even receiving them. So,
Yeah,
and Brian
yeah,
says
I got
his
a ton of
first
them.
indie line was Plunderlings. Yeah,
Okay,
Plunderlings is a good line,
that's
man.
interesting. Yeah, yeah. So as we're getting ready to jump into specific, features, these different companies, do you think indies are pushing the boundaries in ways that brands can't today?
Yes, I think they're able to do. I mean, look at Fresh Monkey Fiction, Big Bad Workshop, right? I mean, they're doing things, like basically just busting other people's balls, right? I mean, making the hooded figures that represent, look just like Hooded Cobra Commander, but aren't Hooded Cobra
Yeah,
Commander. Um, doing a lot of like homage characters that you would not see anywhere else. Kind of like the Four Horsemen do. They do those homages to the
Fisher Price and
Fisher Price
stuff.
and Masters of the Universe and stuff like that, right? And I think
Yeah,
they're able to get away with that stuff. And they have, the one thing I'll say about indie toy lines, and I noticed this at Joe Fest, um, a lot of them, the majority of them, right, are really about their fan base and giving their fan base the things they want. But a lot of them are also willing to take a risk where, Hasbro and Mattel are very risk averse. You know what I mean? So,
yeah,
like when Bobby put out his all female wave, right?
yeah.
Big risk, right?
Well,
I mean, no doubt
he did
about it, right?
the Tim Kennedy. He did the Tim Kennedy figure. Granted,
Yep.
there's a whole bunch of other stuff I'm not going to dive into around
Yeah.
that right now. But I
But that
mean,
wasn't around
at the
back when
time,
that figure got
right
launched,
at the
right?
exactly at the time when that was that Duster. Is that what that one was?
Yeah, that was Duster.
Yeah, yeah. When that Duster figure came out, like that was pretty cool, right? Like you're
Yeah.
getting real life figures at the time of
Yep.
people,
Well, even
on
like you go back to
fictional
like even the
characters.
the smallest thing on these indie lines, right? Like you're not going to get blood splatter from Mattel. You're not going to get that from
Right.
Hasbro, right?
Yep.
Bobby's released a couple figures with blood spatter. Savage Crucible's got
Yeah.
figures out there with some blood on
Oh
them.
yeah.
So you're not going to see that in the main lines.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you're also going to see that's, I think they also push the boundary because of they the weapons, right? Because of the market that they're targeting, they're able to
Yep.
make the weapons a little bit more, true to life, and
Yeah.
also a little bit more, less gummy, I guess,
Less
right?
gummy,
Because you
yeah,
see that a lot
sturdier
with the Joes,
weapons.
and
Yep.
less sci-fi-ish, right? Like where
Yeah.
sci-fi may not have been an appropriate style weapon, because you can do it for certain things, but when you're trying to do real life military characters and they've got these like laser blaster things that don't look
Yeah.
like they're
Yeah.
from
For sure.
modern, military, makes it a little difficult. So I think that allows them some flexibility. They're not reporting to the shareholders,
Yep.
and they're not. Most of these toy lines, they're focused on a single IP. In some cases, their own IP or one they have purchased and
Yeah.
they're owning.
A
Obviously,
lot of
Bobby
those
has,
things they have to follow
expanded.
too are set up by like, the retail chains, right? If you want to get
Yep.
into Walmart, you want to get into Target and stuff. There's certain things you're allowed to do and not do. The weapons aren't one
Right.
of them, but there's still child safety standard regulations they have to follow. So the weapons are going to be gummier. They're not going to like you can take an AWOC weapon and probably puncture somebody with it easily, one of their swords. They're stiff enough
Yeah.
and pointy enough. You're not going to find that at the Walmart.
Yeah. And, there's a whole lot of stuff. There's a ton of other YouTubers that will talk about what, like, Mattel and Hasbro can and can't do. Hasbro has very strict guidelines around characters from the MCU and, rights usage and things like that. When you're
Yeah.
dealing with these independent toy companies like a Valaverse, like they're just kind of making their own characters, and in some cases they are characters like the Kennedy figure, right? Or you have Spero, and they're doing their own things. But here's an example: even Savage Crucible, Harvinger Studios, who has their own IP, Savage Crucible, they've made the relationship with Frank Frazetta, right? We've talked about this,
Yep.
and the rights to that museum of, or I'm sorry, one of not the Frazetta girls. They have access to the Frazetta museum art, so they can replicate some of the characters. You have the Ball and Chain, you have
Yeah.
Death Dealer, you have other characters. So they, even when they're taking on the task of taking on the other IPs, they're doing it justice, but also they're fine tuning it. You know, you pay a little bit more for your figures, but again, you have to consider a ton of things indie, manufacturers, indie toy companies have to deal with. They're not getting the
Yeah.
same purchase quantities, so they're not getting the same breaks that Hasbro Mattel has.
I'll tell you though,
But
man, Savage Crucible's like ball and chain figure. I'd spend the $55 on that all day long, every day. You know what I mean? It's so worth
absolutely,
it, right? And I guess
absolutely.
that's another
No, I
thing,
mean,
right? You're looking at the mass market now is somewhere between 20 to $30 for a standard figure, right?
it's like 30
Hasbro,
bucks. It's
yeah,
30 bucks.
Hasbro and Mattel, depending on if they're on a sale or whatever. But for 35, $40, you can get, a Valaverse, you can get a Fresh Monkey Fiction, you can get Spero and all the other guys, right? And Harvinger
Yeah.
Studios is what, 40 to $50 for the standard figures, right?
I'd have to go check. I haven't bought
I think
standard
they're
from them
around
too
40 or 50.
often.
Because I think the standard ones at Joe Fest were 50 and the ball and chain was 55. So, but
Yeah.
still, what you get and the quality of that figure, it's well worth it. I mean, I pay when I do buy a Mezco. I mean, you're talking $100, $110,
Yeah.
115 sometimes. So, I mean,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
real
So,
quick before we jump on,
yep.
Jeff's was a Fresh Monkey Fiction, a boss fight, and the Four Horsemen Power Lords was his gateway to the Indies. Back when Four
Okay.
Horsemen were still truly indie.
Gotcha. So,
Uh,
like, a long time ago.
and Brian saying that he feels like the bigger companies cookie cutter a lot of stuff. Yeah, they do. They have to make their
Yeah.
money because they have, shareholders to answer to.
Yep.
And yeah, I agree with this too. Endless Fables is Spero's plastic feels are so much better than Mattel or Hasbro. 100%.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And one more Jetman saying his first independent line is Jada Toy Street Fighter 2. Yep.
Yeah.
Great line to start
Well,
into with independence.
absolutely. I mean, and you're not right in the independence. You're like, you're kind of like in that, like, they haven't hit mainstream, but they're still kind of on the
Yeah.
middle of the pack guys. Yeah. And they didn't kind of follow the traditional route of an
You know,
independent.
the
So,
funny thing is that I noticed this when I was at Joe Fest too, and this is something else about the indie creators. Two things is it doesn't matter what, like, look at you, right? You went from basically wrestling to a lot of military, and now you're into, sword and sorcery type figures, right?
fantasy. Yeah.
And you could go into pretty much like any genre you collect, except for cowboys, of course, and find something that fits into that, you know, thing that you enjoy, right? Whether it's military or
Yep.
fantasy or sci-fi. They got Cosmic Legions. You got the a couple other ones that are doing some alien stuff coming up. So I mean, it's like any type of thing you really want to collect. There's a independent company that's making something that can go with that. Secondly, the
Oh,
one thing I will
absolutely.
say about a lot of the indie companies, that this is one thing I really noticed about at Joe Fest, is there's so many of the indie toy companies that are working together on just helping each other design, selling, producing, joining together and making figures that work together, right? You don't see that, right? You once in a while you see like Hasbro and Mattel do a crossover where they're putting it in like a Monopoly game or something like that.
Right.
You're not going to
Right.
see Hasbro produce a GI Joe called He-Man though, right? Because they just won't
Right.
print it.
Right. 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 Absolutely. And I think that's one of the biggest things, and you kind of alluded to. I was going to ask you what you think the biggest thing they bring to the hobby is. I think it's the connection to the
Yep,
communities within it.
100%.
There's that, we have that, like, granted, like, a Punk with Toys has done a great job, like, reaching out and having access to some of the bigger names, right? Over at Hasbro. He's had them on his
Yeah,
show, and they listen, and I know they would, like, a lot of them, and this isn't me being critical of them. A lot of them are us, right? I'll use Bill McKenna from Mattel. He's like the lead guy behind all of the WWE Mattel line. He's been in charge of it as long as I know they've had it, as far as I know. he'll randomly post on his Instagram during like WrestleMania weekend and like the different events, like where he's in Japan watching a Japan All Pro Wrestling show, totally not mainstream WWE stuff, but like he'll be there, or you'll see him at the Indies on a WrestleMania weekend, and then you see him doing all this stuff. He has a passion for it and he cares, and I'm sure a lot of the
Oh
folks
yeah,
at
well
Hasbro feel the same
Lenny
way there.
from GI Joe is a lifetime
Yep,
collector and stuff, and it's I think they have the same passions. They just got more
they're handcuffed.
limitations put on them by the shareholders and the owners of the company.
Yeah,
That was the other
they're
like
handcuffed, not working for themselves.
right, and like connecting with the community, right? I mean, when I was at Joe Fest, I talked to Rob from Savage.
Savage. Yep.
I talked to Ben from Skeletron. I talked to Ken, and I talked to Ken and Steve, a couple times a week, from Delta 17. I could email Jason from Spero right now, and Jason would actually reply. I mean, it's like
Yep.
they
Absolutely.
are working inside the community, and no, Ken, it's not Tuesday. It is Wednesday.
Nope.
We're late. You're early for next week's show.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So that brings me in, I think that's one of the biggest things they bring to the hobby. But there's a couple others.
Oh, like another
We'll
one,
talk.
like you got
Oh,
on the screen there, right? Ace. Ace, he'll talk to you at Joe Fest or
yep,
wherever con you see him at. He comes into people's chats
absolutely.
and hangs out and talks to people and stuff. So
Yeah. Valaverse Action Force, right? That's been their primary line. It's their bread and butter so far as they kicked off his thing. Speaking of someone who, definitely has spoken very vocally about how he was handcuffed working for Hasbro and those guys, right? And again, that has to do with the fact that they have shareholders to report to and things like that a lot of times, and they're not willing to take the risks, like putting out an all female wave like
yeah.
Bobby did when he created Valaverse and did those things, right?
Well, they have
They
approval
do a great
process too that they have to go through,
right,
and it's not going to go.
exactly,
It's not going to make it.
yeah. I mean, I would see that if Valaverse became as large as a Hasbro, Bobby would be, in a place where he'd have to sign off on certain things, more red tape along the line to make sure he was happy with the product that's being put out, right? So, that said, being a smaller independent toy company like Valaverse, they've been able to build a loyal following. What they've done is, focused on weapon accuracy, focused on character design, uniqueness, right? Again, when I say uniqueness, and I know some people who may not be a fan will point out the Bucks being very similar and them only now expanding into other Bucks. It's a startup. They've invested so much capital into this, kickstarted it, launched it from there. And goes for a lot of, these independent toy companies. You got to start somewhere and you have to reuse those molds. The big guys still do it. And their wallets are almost limitless when you really think about it, because, I don't want to say they're too big to fail, but like they could pretty
Well, the
much
thing
put
is,
whatever out
right?
there they
I
want.
mean, the molds are expensive, so they're
Yeah.
going to get as much use out of those molds, whether they're independent or one of the mainline, toy companies, right? Those molds are expensive. You're not going to just mold something one time unless there's a reason for it. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and here's another thing, right? Like I know we're focusing on Valaverse, right? And when most people think of Valaverse, they automatically think of Action Force. But again, now you have the Action Force 1944. You had what he was originally going to kind of split off and do his own Pirates thing with, but he decided to keep it in with the Valaverse Action Force line and interconnect it there. But he also did the white,
White Ninja.
I can't remember the White Ninja thing, which was based off Jason David Frank's movie thing that he was going to do, and honestly, the toys seemed very good. I didn't get them. I still want to get my hands on them. I just haven't gotten around to it. But that line seemed like it had potential. Unfortunately, the IP hasn't come out with the movie. There was obviously Jason passed away, and that was the last figure with his since that had his
I think there was a
likeness
couple
from his
problems with
movie.
that, right? I mean, ultimately, it was just an alternative Power Rangers line, right? So, really, unless
Yeah.
you're in the Power Rangers, you're not going to really be into that whole thing.
Well,
They,
that's the piece, but it actually had the perfect time. I'd argue that it had the perfect timing in the sense that Hasbro was moving away from the Lightning line, the
Right.
Lightning series,
Yep.
and since they were moving away, and Bobby and Valaverse were able to craft a figure that was very similar in style and aesthetics, and same scale, and he even went as far as trying to make it so that the pegs worked for the head, so you could swap things like that. The door was open there for a really good opportunity, and I don't think Bobby missed the boat on that. I actually think, or Valaverse, I don't think they missed the boat on it. I actually think that's the producers in the movie and the delays that outside stuff
Oh yeah, yeah.
interfered
That
with.
was totally.
And I think that that line, if that series had gone and continued to expand and they developed that IP out appropriately, I think Bobby was really sitting in a perfect place for those fans because a lot of people that are Power Rangers fans, especially from my age group, we're Tommy fans. We were Green and White Ranger fans. So when he pivoted out to do his own thing, we were all kind of behind that, and as a result, like we would have got behind that new IP if it went the right way. Unfortunately, there's a lot of things outside of our control and
Yeah.
fans' control and even producers' control that kind of limited it. But you know, I think that they've done a great job because Action Force, when it came out, it was there to, in my opinion, it was there to fill the gap that Joe's couldn't at the time, and it also did a great job giving unique characters that Joe's weren't producing. And actually, I liked the modern, like characters that Action Force was doing, but what they did well is they made sure it worked with the classifieds and they were complementary to one another.
Yeah.
And what I will say is they push the envelope for the classifieds because I don't care what anyone says. I don't pick sides. I'm right in the middle. I'm on the fence. I'm laying there. I can spend all day there. The thing is that you're going to have folks on both sides of the arguments that are going to say, "Oh, copied, stole, did this, whatever." He bought it. He followed the process. He built out the IP and extended it. Got the approval from former creators of the IP. But in nothing else, when they came out, what did we see from Classified? We
Well,
saw more
yeah. I
pinless
mean,
joints. We
competition
saw
is
more,
good, right? I mean,
yeah,
both of them, like Bobby made Classified step up, right? And then Hasbro stepped up, and next thing you know, Bobby had to step
raise
up,
the
right?
bar.
Yeah. So I mean, it
Exactly.
just
And that's
bounced
great for the
back and forth,
consumer.
right?
Yeah. And I think
Uh,
that, he's been great at getting his community engagement. That's been, he's got a huge supporter base there. Obviously it's, there's the Joe and there's the Valads. There's a whole world of feuds there. It's
oh
WCW
yeah,
versus WWE all over again from the
yeah.
90s. That said, Ed, do you think that the Valaverse brand could evolve beyond military themes? Because we saw him try with the ninja stuff. I think just wrong place, wrong time at that point. Just
I
some things
think
counted
if
against him.
Bobby was able to, right now, here's the problem that Bobby has: he doesn't have enough history, first of all, or money probably to obtain, a DC license or, something like that, right? Could he do a good job of those? I'm sure he could do an awesome job, right?
100%.
Can he take what he already has though and expand it? I mean, like I think what he did with the Pirates line, because I know that he's always liked pirates, right? He could have actually made true to life pirates, space pirates, modern day pirates, and had a whole pirate line outside of the action force, right? And just called it Valaverse Pirate Force or whatever the hell he calls it. And it could have done fine. He needs to expand right now, or he's never going to get many more licenses, right? He'll end up with licenses that are short, like the White Ninja and like Tom Clancy,
Well,
you know,
so I don't know that he won't get those. I think there's a cash flow thing, right? At some, you're
well,
gonna do
I
what
can
you're
tell
doing
you
well.
that in
He's
order to
doing
get
military
those,
really well.
right, he needs to get. That's what I'm saying. He needs to expand what he's doing now, right? As far like every figure that he's done is essentially the same. Even the White Ninjas kind of fit into that action force aesthetic, right? He hasn't
Yeah.
like gone out and shown that I can do, a superhero character, right? Or
Well, so
something
he
like
has
that.
the portfolio. He has the portfolio though. Valaverse itself doesn't have that portfolio, but
Bobby
he has
does,
the
right?
portfolio, Bobby. So that they're interchangeable. So I think that he has the portfolio to show that it can be done and he can do it. I think that you're going to run into the fact that he's an independent toy, creator, and as a result, until there's such growth that he can reinvest, and I believe he's continuing to reinvest tremendously
Yeah,
in it from the vehicles and other things. He's taking a lot of risks, right? Those vehicles,
yeah.
the ton of
That's what I'm
all
saying, right?
girls
He needs
line,
a band
way.
is offering, throw something. I mean, maybe the 1944 stuff, if it's different enough as far as the way it looks, might do it. It's hard to say.
I feel like the term Valaverse directly correlates with military line
Right.
action verse at this
Exactly.
point.
Exactly.
It doesn't go beyond like when I say Hasbro or Mattel, they can be anything.
Yep.
When we say Valaverse, it is very much military themed figure. So I don't
Yep.
know he's doing very well there. I don't know that he needs to move away from it. I'd be interested to see what comes next outside
Yeah.
of military themed figures. I want to see the success because I love the growth of the independent toys, and other offerings. And I tremendously love unique
Right.
new IPs.
Yeah.
So, it'll be interesting to see where he goes with things next and if that's an opportunity. Moving on
Hold on
to
a second.
another. Oh, I'm sorry.
Let's run through the chat real quick.
Yeah.
Ken saying, yeah, Ed can just message me and tell me how he likes his eggs made, and I'll get them or Ubered over. Thanks, Ken. I like mine sunny
Sounds like a
side up
good
with a
dude.
side of toast.
I'll
Ken,
let you know
who
while
is
I
in the
recline.
who is in the manufacturing part of the business, says smaller
Yeah.
companies don't need to age grade their stuff for age 4+, so they don't have to do the drop test and sharpness test, etc., which costs
Yeah.
money. So that's a positive that they have to think. Jeff saying, yeah, we talked about this, Jeff. The Tim Kennedy thing surely doesn't age well. No, that's and the Tom Clancy license. Yeah, I'm excited to see what he does with that. Um,
Yeah. You want to pull up that one from Endless that he just posted? Because that one I want to talk on for a second.
yeah, hold on a second. I'm just gonna run through these.
Yep.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Valaverse getting Sarge was a good move. Yep.
That was awesome. I
And
loved how he
Jetman
played
likes
into the lore
Condor and
and
a couple
everything.
other of their figures. I mean, yeah, they got some good designs.
Yeah.
Uh,
I will say I never had a bad Valaverse figure. I
no,
was always happy with every one of them. They were all good.
I think he tried to get the Silverhawks, Jeff, but I don't think he was able to do it.
Huh.
Valaverse doing a Western line be good too. I could definitely get into that. He should do an Adventure Team knockoff. I would be down for that too, Jeff. You know that for 100%. Um, does it
So
matter
this is
that
the one.
much? He's giving a lot of options: pirates, background characters, sci-fi with the Hive. Um,
So I want to talk on that one.
yeah, go ahead.
So Ed, yeah. So with that, I think Endless actually points out a good point, and we're about to cover a number of different lines that cover a different sphere of kind of IP space. So does he really need to pivot and
Well, I think that
expand? It
depends
depends on
on
what he wants the goal to be.
right. I think that's what I was just going to say. Right. It depends on really where you want to take it because you look at the indie toy companies that are out there right now. Right. You got Valaverse, who's, as we know, is primarily military, right? We have Mythic Legions, which is primarily fantasy. They have Cosmic Legions, which isn't doing as well, right? We know
We'll talk
this,
about that in a minute. We're going
right?
to jump right in there in just a second. Yes.
You have Harvinger Studios, which they have their football line, Collegiate Legends, and they have Savage Crucible, right? Savage Crucible is doing a bangers, right? The collegiate line is not. I mean, I don't see hardly any people, buying it. I'm sure there's enough people that they're keeping it going, but it's not going to be one of those lines that everybody's like, "Oh, I got to have that," right? It's a very
Right.
focused type of thing. So a lot of the indies they get into these. I don't want to call them ruts because they're not ruts. They get into genres, and I think they stay there because that's what their fan base wants, and part of it, like part of connecting with the community, right? Is you build a fan base, and you become loyal to your fan base, and your base in turn return becomes very loyal to you. So I think somebody in the position of like uh, Four Horsemen, Valaverse, who are the bigger indie companies right now as far as time and in things that they've done, lines, series that they've done so far, um, have the best opportunity to maybe expand. But again, it's going to be what is the end goal, right? Do you want
Yeah.
to stay in that military line and be that independent toy company that just makes killer military stuff, or the line that just makes fantasy stuff, and then you have this offshoot that's cosmic, that is doing all right but not great, and then the other one that they just launched, the I can't remember what that new thing is they just did, but
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about, the Four Horsemen there.
well, they have a couple things. Yeah, the modular ones. I can't think
Right.
of what it's called.
Yeah.
Um,
And Jeff
but
says Valaverse first GI Joe is good for the hobby, but that heat won't last forever. Eventually, it will all get stale. Exactly.
yeah,
That's why we're talking about. They really need to expand. Hasbro has Marvel Legends and Star Wars, so if GI Joe fails, they're not worried about it, right? And I think that's been their mentality, is why they end up not giving as much love to GI Joe as they often do, because they always have all these other licenses that they know a movie will come out. Fans are forever. Star Wars fans are forever, right?
yeah. So I think that Endless put a really good point out there, and maybe Bobby's. I'm actually like, at first when I posed that question, it was from a perspective of can he go beyond? But now with what Endless and what you've said, I'm actually thinking maybe that's not his strategy right now. Maybe that's not his plan. He has done really well marketing and focusing on that. He now got the Splinter Cell IP, right? It's a smaller but very well known IP
Oh yeah,
that will absolutely give him exposure to his other stuff. And because of that, it will likely upsell his Action Force line, which could potentially just be fillers for Splinter Cell character stuff for folks that collect that, which then just
yeah,
puts people into that world. And if he were to continue for the foreseeable future, just continuing to refine his Action Force IP and then grabbing up these one off parallel what would the word be, complementary IPs
yeah,
like Splinter Cell, a Rainbow Six, other things, that's a win-win for his IP and taking on the other ones. So honestly, I think he's doing great work there, and I don't know that I would
yeah.
mess with
He's
that
kind of
strategy right now.
following, like, Todd's got the DC license, right? McFarlane, and Todd's, the last couple of years he's got like the Witcher license, and now he's got that.
Yeah,
He's doing the one with I can't remember the name of it, Double Dragon and something else, and he's doing the one with Keanu Reeves from the comic book there. Uh,
yeah.
I can't remember the name of it offhand, but
Oh, I know which one. It's the Wolverine-like one.
yeah.
I know which one you're talking about. I've read it. I just can't think of it. But I don't make too many of them,
Jeff says that's
Skunkworks,
a
but I'll
great
take
point.
it.
Yeah,
I don't make too many of them, but I'll take that one. No, he's doing a good job. I think that I got a different angle on that just through the conversation. Moving on though to the Four Horsemen, right? And you kind of touched on this, right? These guys are like the top of the top when you think of independent toys. They've been around a lot longer than just the Four Horsemen has. They were doing this stuff for Master so the Universe, I think. They did some other stuff,
yeah.
if I remember correctly, prior to their Mythic
They've been
Legions.
designing for a long
Obviously,
time, right? They've been in business for
exactly.
like 25 years, I think, and doing only
Exactly.
mythics for 10. So I mean,
10.
they've
Right.
been in a design
So,
studio for a long time.
right. And in the Mythic Legion fantasy toy line, they do a great job with it. They've mastered the drop model, that the FOMO that folks want to get in on. I mean, they're giving us a dragon. Um, the cosmic line, you alluded to it, doesn't seem to be doing as well. That one's an interesting one because I don't know that they if they stretch themselves too thin with that, or if there's just not enough buy-in from that. I just don't know 100% exactly, where the cosmic can go and if it will be strong enough. I know there's other things,
So I think
but
the struggle with the Cosmics is they've been doing Mythic basically for 8, 9 years before the first Cosmic was out, right? So I mean, they had a very loyal fan base of fantasy, you know,
Yeah.
a fantasy, loving fan base, right? Cosmics is a, it's science fiction fantasy, right?
Yep.
And a lot of those fans that like the medieval castles and the taverns and the dwarves and the dragons and all that, right, aren't the type of fans that like space stuff, right? They
Yeah.
might like
That's
watching,
me.
sci-fi movies, but they're not going to go out
Yeah.
and buy sci-fi characters, right? Some
Yeah, that's
people
me.
buy them
Now
just
you
for
hit that
the
on the head
extra
for it.
pieces and things like that, right? But
Yeah.
I don't think that the Cosmics will ever reach the fan fandom that Mythic has, right? They won't have a.
Yeah.
I mean, the Cabal covers both of them, but I mean, like most people in the Cabal are all about the Mythics, right? But they also have Figure Obscura, which those always do really well, right? They always sell out really well.
Yeah.
They do them at certain times of year. People come to expect them. They get excited that there's one coming soon. I mean, last spring, I think it was Oz, maybe a week beforehand, was like, oh man, there's a new Figure Obscura coming soon. I'm like, why, did you hear something? He's like, no, I'm just looking at the calendar and it's got to be this week or next week because of, the time frame. And it was literally like, that was on a Saturday. And I think it was the next Friday that they dropped the, hint that it was going to be the new Figure Obscura coming. It was like,
Yeah. And what as we talk about this, what was your entry point into the legions, Ed?
the first
I remember
figure I
mine.
got was Dubon and the Boreas the horse. So those are the
Okay.
first two that I bought.
Yeah, so my entry into it was after I bought a bunch of AWOCs, after I backed the heck out of the Savage Crucibles, and I was like, I gotta start filling out some rosters and get some more characters
Yeah,
in there.
I didn't
And
go into Mythic until after I was in AWOC already and kind of had that
yeah,
fantasy going on. And then when Hella Dope got their batch of whatever wave that was called with Dubon and it, and Boreas the horse, that's when I picked those two up.
awesome. And I think this is like I think this is, a piece of what makes them great. It's their community. It's the way they've engaged their community in such a strategic manner to to the point where it has generated businesses out of just fandom and hobbies for many people. But additionally, they've tied into what I love is this world building storytelling approach that they go with their releases and the waves and try to connect it. And I think for me the biggest piece is that when they launched the Dragon for GCon last year, like before they did that or right as they were doing it, they kind of showed the map world kind of expanding, right? And that was huge when they announced that the world is expanding. So what are you and how do you feel about that approach?
I think like that's like, let's take the look at their last wave that they just did, right? They introduced a new character size, the imp scale, right?
Yep.
Um, which I love the gnome. I've always loved gnomes, so I'll definitely begin one of those. Uh, they started with their the Cosmic Legions, like those little accessory packs, with the tools and the gear and stuff, and now they got one for Mythic where they got the the kegs and the mugs and stuff like that, right? And I think Brian said something about that. I think it was Brian. I mean, it is really great that they're doing it, and there's so many people that are in the fandom that are just taking the stuff that they put out and making their own characters still in that fantasy realm. And you see them now, right? They're giving more like Viking style characters. And in one of the last few waves, there was some Persian and,
Yep.
Asian look type of characters and things like that. They're doing this huge thing where they're putting out like that, the Skeleton Builder 4-pack, which people just love the skeletons because they're great, army builders. And they're doing those, relatively cheap for skeletons. It's a good concept to expand the line. I don't think they need to worry about the Mythic Legions line having any kind of stall anytime soon. I mean, they
Yeah.
announce a
No,
new
not at
wave
all.
and people just go all in, right? And that's,
Yeah.
Real quick, let's run through a couple of comments about what we're talking about.
Yeah, and one thing I'm going to tell you as you're getting ready to read those is my next question for you. Is Cosmic Legions hurting the Mythic Legions? Would we have more? Would I mean because you're taking up factory time, you're taking up design time. It's the same teams all building that stuff out, right?
Yeah,
So
I think
is the Cosmic line, is it hurting the Mythic line
I
by
don't think it's
being
hurting the
split?
mythic line at all. I think they've got it set up now where they're doing, like three three releases a year for mythic, and then doing a cosmic in between there, plus the figure obscura. I think their hope was is that while people are waiting, right, and the way they do their buys, with the time delay of a year or
All ends.
whatever it is, right, that these would like start filling it in, so you're getting a mythic wave, and then you're getting a cosmic wave, then a mythic wave, and then a figure
And
obscura.
if
So
you're not a
people are
Mythic collector,
right. People are fine,
you could.
continuously getting stuff in. I just don't think there was enough fan base in the fantasy realm of Mythic Legions that took to the Cosmic Legions. I know a lot of guys have, right? There's a lot of guys that I've talked to that will pick up one or two or some of them or all of them, on a hand, but it's not all the cabal. It's not all the fan base that, is into that.
Yeah. Thanks, Brick. Enjoy, brother.
Brick, to answer your
Um,
question real quick, that's a Stargate that I built.
yeah.
Uh,
And then you want to pull up the questions as or comments as I'm getting ready to dive into the next one because they
yeah.
directly
So Jeff
align.
saying Bobby should try and land a sci-fi license. Not sure which one. Yeah, I think a
I
sci-fi
I
license.
disagree now.
I
I
think if he picked
disagree.
one up, I think though if he picked one up that was sci-fi military, right? Um, what's the one with? It's like the video game with Solid Snake and all those, right? They're a little more sci-fi based than military based. Uh,
Oh, Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear Solid, that type of thing, right? I think that would
Yeah.
be a good way to jump in. Um,
Okay.
and Brian saying he's filling out a world, background characters, and the gym girls and all that. Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
he's definitely building up. And as we saw, Brick was here, but he's going to get his last day in Tokyo started. Safe travels to you, Brick. Enjoy your last day overseas, brother. Um,
Yep.
and Brian saying the cosmics are great for photography, 100%. Let's see. Brick had a couple of things I wanted to point out. Um, yeah, Jeff 4-H has been doing 4-H has been around as long as it takes to get one of the figure waves from them. There it is. Yeah, Mythic has been around 10 years and built up their fan base. Give Cosmics the same time. It's only been about 3 years or so, maybe two. Yeah, I just don't. I think they need to expand their market as far as they were hoping that
I
the Mythic fans would jump to Cosmics, and I don't think that happened.
I think it was too dependent on their already existing piece. I
Yeah,
think that they believe that there would be a larger buy-in from the already existing
right.
consumer
Exactly.
base,
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They
and
need to expand that.
I think I think realistically, the long term goal was to get enough buy in from their current consumer base that when you had a consumer base focused on the mythics, that once they eventually established a cosmic base that was non mythic, they would have revenue generation from two different pipelines of people with some overlap, but enough that would allow them to continue to hit the community for,
Right.
purchases throughout the year. While maybe you and I, who don't necessarily get into the cosmics, or maybe I don't get into the cosmics, but you do, you're getting
I
into
only I
cosmics two
hand I'm
twice,
very 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 you know henpecking with the Cosmics, right? I mean,
right.
like
I'm
like
just
it's
using
got
it
to
as
be
an
a
example.
yeah, it's got to be a
Yeah,
figure, and I think a lot of the people that were into Mythic that like sci-fi do the same thing, right? They handpick certain, cherry pick certain characters that, like Fisher Rice, which I got because of
absolutely.
my love for the original, the homage that it's from, right?
Yeah.
I only out of all the causes that they've done so far, I think I've only picked up 6 unique characters, right? So I mean, there's not that many.
Yeah.
Brick saying, "What up? Love seeing the Sasquatch talk last week. Thanks, Brick. Appreciate it. I know you're on your way out, but that Mythic Legions is a dope line, deep lore in a short time. That's one thing that's definitely true about the Mythic Legions is
Yeah.
they're
But
definitely on the lore.
I need a
Jeff saying,
graphic novel.
yeah,
I need a lore graphic novel. I need them to start like popping that crap out. Like they are missing out on so much of my money because like even if I didn't buy a lot of the figures, if they would give me quarterly
yeah.
graphic novel, doesn't need to be big, could be 25 pages, right? Like a smaller one
You know,
that
with
just
the
give
way
me
they
some
do their
background
figures
lore.
too, right? They could do even like a graphic novel with like 5 short stories where it's just individual
Yeah.
characters, right? I mean, it'd be
Yeah.
simple. Jeff
Just
saying
give me the lore.
his first mythic was a Krampus,
Oh,
and
okay.
Brian saying, "Stop it, action." Dubon was his first Mythic Legions too. Uh, Into the Horseman was the headless horseman for Mythic Legions was Dubon. Yeah, and we can't ignore 4-H's several other toy lines that helped build their toy base, all of which were Mythic compatible. Gothotropolis, Seventh Kingdom, etc. Yeah, those were definitely before our time, so we haven't really talked about those much, Brick. But thanks for pointing that out. Jeff saying, I ordered my first basic figure. It was the Viking. I think I pre-ordered it 6 years ago. Hope it comes before Punk's Rattler. Oh, Jeff. Brick saying his first. Go ahead, man. I'm just going to read through the rest of the chats. Tell me when you're ready. Brick's first in hand was during reinforcements sale. I was blown away by the basic army builders, so I got named characters. And
So can you throw up that question from Jetman, I think?
which one? Wow,
I
there's a
don't
lot
know.
of
He
stuff.
asked about
I'm sorry
dwarf.
I lost the chat, guys. You guys are going way too fast. Sig Toy Arts is here. I thought I like Cosmic more, but I surprisingly don't. Yeah, I'm kind of the
Yeah.
same way. I thought I'd be more into it. Jeff saying Mythic is more immersed. Customizers love the Mythics. Aliens are endless like the Cosmos, for sure. They could do a lot more. Is it this one? Does Mythic Legions have any dwarf figures? I've always been a big dwarf fan. They have a lot of, I want to say, like 5 or 6 armored dwarf figures. And recently they've been doing dwarfs with more of a, like just basic armor, what was it? The Rising
This
Suns
guy right
wave.
here, right?
Yeah, they did that guy, but then the Rising Suns wave has the dwarf man and woman together. Remember, they had the 2-pack,
Yep.
which
Yep.
are, they're getting more into like the basic dwarves instead of the heavily armored dwarves. If you go
Yep.
to the Four Horsemen Studios, they have a list of all the characters, and you can see the dwarves that they have made.
Yeah.
Then it's just a matter of
So
going to like eBay or see if Big Bad has any in stock or anything like that.
yeah.
Sig
So
Toy Arts, I agree with that. Shelf floor is way more important than canon. Travis, on the other hand, is a very big, he likes reading the lore for the inspiration and
yeah, I like it. I just enjoy
well,
it.
there's
It
nothing
gives me
wrong with it,
something to
dude. Everybody
digest.
has their own
Well, because I
thing,
like
right?
to know what the creator thought. I like to know what the creator's intention of these people were. I'll go off and come up with my own crap for it. That's fine. But I just like to know where they were coming from with it. Like, how does that world all connect? Why do the dragons do
Yeah.
that? Why do that type of stuff? That said, to kind of keep moving along, because we could talk about Four Horsemen and their Goliath
Yeah.
of a machine that they have forever. We'll definitely dive in deeper in the future around Four Horsemen because I really want to put like a case study together around them.
Yeah.
But Ed, Harvinger Studios, aka Savage Crucible, they're doing a couple different things. We already talked about the collegiate, the collegiate,
Legends.
whatever it is there. Legends, thank you.
Yeah.
But really want to focus on the Savage Crucible aspect of it because that's where I have some activity, quite a bit. But they're bringing Death Dealer to life, right? But additionally, I alluded to this early on. The independent toy creators are pushing the envelope for our mainstream, the Hasbro, the Mattels. But that was with the Valaverse. That's with some of the other lines, right? The Four Horsemen didn't really have a direct competition at the mainstream. They didn't
Not anybody
have
that was really digging in and doing it. No.
no, not at the big, not at the top, right? Like it just wasn't there. So I alluded to there's other, lines, independent toy lines that are pushing the envelope of our other independent lines, which is awesome because again, you've got Savage Crucible, you've got a very highly articulated action figure, very current, modern, today's level of articulation, what you would expect from 2025 toy figures.
Right.
Where the Four Horsemen, they didn't have that. But over the last 2 years, we've seen them go from the version 1 models to the 2s, and now they've even expanded into 3, which you can't deny that ties in directly to when Savage stuff started hitting people's houses and people were getting the more articulation and able to do it in a way that even with some creases and some cuts, it really isn't impacting the visual aesthetic of the figure. You're getting amazing paint apps. You're getting awesome, soft and other accessories, right?
Yeah.
Even just for these figures. Well, and they have worked to make it so you can do some pop and swapping with the Savage Crucible to allow that customization, more so than maybe like your Valaverse and some of those other ones. More in line with the Four Horsemen, but not at the same level. Though I realized with the human figures that there was way more pop and swap flexibility that I hadn't even started playing with on the
Yeah.
lizards. So they've done a great job on that. What I will say they've also done a great job is their licensing, and that's one that you can talk to heavily, Ed, because of the Frank Frazetta stuff, right? How important do you think that licensed IP art is to an independent toy line like a Savage Crucible?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a lot of people like Cobweb Collector, right? Um, he started buying mythic legions. I mean, yeah, he was always looking at them kind of because, we always talked about it and stuff. But his first dive in was because of the Master of the Universe homages, right? So I
Yep.
mean, like that's what brought him to the Four Horsemen was the homages to the Master of the Universe. I think with Savage Crucible getting the Frazetta stuff, that's doing the same thing, right? There's people that just love Frazetta art, and they're going to get these
Yeah.
figures. And they might just pose them as a statue on their shelf or in their office or whatever. Leave them in the box, whatever it is. But it's still income, right? It's still money. There, people are buying
Yeah.
their figures. It's somebody else might walk into their office that's also a fantasy fan of art fan and be like, "What is that? Where did you get that?" Next thing you know, you got
Yeah.
another person
Yeah.
buying a Savage, right? So I think it's crucial. It helps expand the line while staying in that same realm of fantasy, and that's kind of like yes, the Four Horsemen have some deeper history with the Master Universe than just picking up a license. But I mean, um, the homage figures definitely brought people into that line also, and this is going to do the same thing for Savage, right? Like they could go and get like maybe the Beastmaster license or something like that, and it would fit right in with what they're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny because I had a different angle on this, but because of the conversations with Endless and what we talked about with Valaverse, yes, Harvinger Studios is doing the Collegiate Legends, but they within the Savage Crucible line have already from the get go and the jump tied themselves to an IP that was at a small scale. And what I mean by small scale is not Frank Frazetta stuff, but like one figure here and there, right? They didn't build their entire IP around the Frank Frazetta stuff. They leveraged it in parallel to their own stuff, almost like Valaverse is doing with the Splinter Cell, right?
Right.
It's a strategic alignment, something that rolls into the same sphere of creativity and
Yeah. I
the
mean,
world building,
if Mythic
and that's
Legions,
what
right,
Savage did.
right, if Four Horsemen went out and say they got a military, agreement to do a military figure. Like they just did that one, right? They're
Right. The
they're and
Joe Lanta.
if they that so a figure sold well for a couple reasons, right? A, it's kind of tied to cosmics, even though it's not a cosmic legion. It has some great pieces that people really appreciated that they can use to customize with. But also it's just the fan base, right? The Mythic Legion's fan base will buy whatever Mythic Legion's put out because they're so devoted, right? But if they
Yeah.
went out and bought some, if they were going to do Splinter Cell, I don't think they'd be able to do Splinter Cell, right? People would be like, why the hell is Mythic Legion's doing Splinter Cell? Because they don't do military stuff, right?
Right.
It'd be
Right.
no different than Savage Crucible saying, we're gonna go out and do Reacher, right? I mean, it just doesn't
Right.
fit.
Right. But I was getting to the point where, like, to me the angle here is, if they keep doing these little very strategic IP offerings within their own IP of Savage Crucible, similar to what Vala's doing. And like I said, that Splinter Cell is going to pull in another consumer base that may not have been
Yeah.
aware of the product. The Frank Frazetta stuff's pulling in a consumer base that
Yep.
may not have been aware of the
100%.
product. It's a very, very smart approach, and it's not the angle that I thought of until we were having this conversation with Endless and you. So very, very smart. And I think that the connection there is huge.
And Terrence said it right. I mean, he said it before. Frazetta is the granddaddy of fantasy art, right? I mean, and there's characters, name characters in Frazetta's art, but like he's saying here, if you look at the art, you'll find all these characters, right? Barbarians, snake men, monsters, etc. Right?
Yeah.
And he, like Brick just showed you on your guys' conversation last week there, that he's got some vampires and some werewolves and things like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. So
If
kind of
here, Nolan has a good
go ahead.
question, and we're
going to
could
get there.
probably
Save that
all
one.
right.
Save that
we'll
one for
save
the
that
next
one.
slide, or
Yep.
2 slides from now. Yeah, save that one. Going to the next one, it's a little different. I saved another one for after this. We'll talk about Spero just after this. I wanted to talk about Ramen because it's different, right? Because he's not creating his own IPs. He's actually trying to get access to the IPs that are being hoarded by the mainstream.
Right.
Just
Yes.
held on to. They're being gate kept from the community. Because the bigger industry, monsters are not willing to take the risk on putting something out there, and they don't have enough alignment on pushing something, or they don't see the crossover on
It's all
television to be
about,
able
we
to
want to
sell it
hang
to.
on to the license, but we don't want to take the risk of I mean, look at Hasbro, what they did with Indiana Jones, right? There's really Indiana Jones, as much as everybody says, "Oh, I love Indiana Jones," there's not very many people that really want the action figures, and that's been
Yeah.
proven many times over. Hasbro released 12-inch versions of Indiana Jones when the fourth movie came out, and regulars 3 3 3/4 inch. They've Hasbro had Indiana Jones, Mezco did Indiana Jones, SH Figuarts did Indiana Jones, and you still don't see a lot of pictures with Indiana Jones out there, right? And that's the
Right, right,
problem,
right.
that a lot of these made companies like Hasbro, that has the license to things like Black Star and
Yeah.
uh, Brave Star and all these other things. It's like
Yeah.
they want to keep that license just in case something happens where somebody decides to pop out a cartoon, or all of a sudden the IP gets some kind of revitalization, but they don't want to take the risk
Right.
and actually put characters out. And that's where Ramen
Exactly.
Toys kind of stepped in. Now he's
Yeah.
got his vans, he's got his cars, he's got his sewer layer thing, whatever the hell he called that, I can't remember. And he's got great stuff. Like I saw his aviators, which are Top Gun inspired figures,
Yep.
at Joe Fest, and they look amazing. Head sculpts are gorgeous. I mean, you can look at the
Well,
Val Kilmer head and say, yeah, that's Val Kilmer. You can look at the Goose head. I can't remember the guy's actor's name, but that's Goose. I mean, you can see that.
right. Well, I think Ramen does a great job blending that nostalgia, with playing that homage to the original. But it's a slippery slope because the IP ownership and the rights to produce
Right.
things. So I don't know that he's actually put anything out that hasn't been delayed significantly due to cease and desists, that he had to change namings, make some tweaks to He-Man's head, or
Yeah.
things like that, right? Even the Marshall, different things, right? Changing the name, a number of things, and I get it. He's trying to give us consumers what he knows people are willing to spend money on. He's trying to make a buck for himself and produce some things that he's enjoying creating. king.
Yeah.
I've had conversations with him myself, both on and offline, and he's very much trying to do things the right way. He just can't get access to them. They're doing that gatekeeping, as we alluded to. But like he became on the radar when that Hell's Fire Charger thing failed, right,
Yes.
for the HasLab, right? And
Yeah.
like that was a huge opportunity where he was like, I'm just gonna come out with my own and I'm gonna launch this to the moon and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna do it at a fraction of the price. I don't know how much less he did it for than the original, but I feel like it came with more and he went a little higher on what he was going with. And like the
I
turtle
think
layer
the
is like the same
original
thing.
one pre-order, like when he did their first pre-order, was around $200, just maybe just under it,
But with
and
shipping though, right?
with
But I'm
shipping it
saying
would have
like
been
all
like
in all with shipping it
250
kind of
bucks or
jumped up.
something
Yeah.
for the original one. But I think the Hell Charger was sitting at 350 when they announced that, right?
I don't remember.
Something, it
I
was
don't
something like
remember.
that. It was
Yeah.
significantly less, right? But also
Right.
he
You
gave you what, 3 or 4 choices, right? He gave you
That was
the
the
blacked
key.
out one for the Punisher. He gave you the Dukes of Hazard
Dukes of
version.
Hazard.
He gave
Yep.
you the Hell Charger version, and then one other one. I can't remember what it was, but
Yeah. And I think he did a great work. Um, do you do you think he's innovating or just remixing?
I think he's got some cool design things, like some of the stuff that he's done with the Aviators line. The way he has like the flight suit pull over the actual jumpsuit, pretty cool
Okay.
stuff. Is it innovative? It's. I think it's more of him taking current ways of doing things and maybe improving on them or altering them to make it fit. So innovative to a point, right? But if you can make, things like the Rev van, right? The Rev van is huge. And I picked mine
Yeah.
up for shipped. It was like $150. You know what I mean? So you can't beat that for a 112 scale vehicle that ultimately
No.
fits two guys in the front seat. And I could put, if I customized benches in the back, I could probably fit another 8 figures in there easily, and have room.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Um, Yeah, so I mean, I just wanted to touch on Ramen because I think he's doing some cool stuff. I know it's a little gray area that he plays in that space. He's trying to give the consumers what they ask for, what they want, what they probably will never get otherwise. And I do believe he's trying to do it genuinely the right way. Unfortunately, hit some roadblocks that limit it. So he's just like, screw it, I'm still going to give the fans what they want. And as a fan, I can't complain about that. As a owner of my own patent and things like that, I definitely can understand the frustration elsewhere. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, it's
understandable.
kind of a, like, you got it
Um,
in there, right? It's controversial, right? It's good and bad.
exactly.
It's got its great points that he's given us, things like Brave Star and 3-0, right? And they both look
Yep.
fantastic. The Aviators, they look fantastic. He did the He-Man heads because Mattel's He-Man heads were
Yep.
just atrocious, so.
From the movie, right?
But
Yep.
then
Yep.
you flip side it, right? And it's like, okay, well, you're using IPs unethically in a business
Right.
standpoint, right?
Yeah. But hopefully his pushing the envelope will allow us to get something bigger and
Right.
better, from either
Well,
himself
I
because he
don't think you
licenses
would
it
have
or
saw
from them.
Mask probably had Ramen not pushed the,
Yeah.
pushed it, and then people were like, "Yeah, we want Mask stuff."
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to get the attention on it.
So Brian says
Last
his
but
wife
not
tells him that
least.
he's going to Jolanta, lucky bastard.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
And what was the question that I was going to say
So
from Spero?
the question was, and I think it was from Nolan, is what line or what IP would Spiro get that you know that he could grow on or
Yeah,
something. I think
this
I have to find it.
real quick, going back to Ramen. You're right, Brian. He did get the Gotcha Man license,
Yes. Yep.
which is cool. I wish he would do some 112 scale figures for Gotcha Man, because I would be all over that shit. That way I wouldn't have to buy Storm
If
collectibles
Jason
for $100 each.
is this one, if Jason and Spiro were going to add a pre-existing IP, what do you feel would work? There are so many to that. We'll cover on that at the end of this slide, but just that's the question, right?
Okay.
Spiro has been building a universe of beast, right? Like AWOC has color, range, and style across the board. They have hand-to-hand combat style weapons, They don't they have they have guns and bows and things like that. So they're covering everyone, the tech, the non tech folks, and the lore that they're putting together on the paper. Comic books are awesome. The story is amazing.
Yeah.
They're missing That's being missed across all of the mainstream and other IPs, with the exception of Savage, who's touching on it with doing it. They haven't had as much lore put out in book form as Spero has been able to, but they've done a great job too. But pun intended, they're not monkeying around, right?
Yeah.
They're for real. Spero's doing great. Spero has the AWalk line. They have also extended into an alternative type of line, the Bushido line,
Bushido. Yep.
Bushido that they're working on.
Yep.
That's in the infancy, and they're trying to go into some other stuff. He's alluded to that on calls and streams that he's been a part
Yes.
of. That he has interest in doing some like blind bag type things, different stuff that he's interested in. That said, I think he hit a home run on a completely original IP that is an amazing toy line. The quality. Punk said this, right? It's a toy you
Yeah.
can give to your kid. And I want to make sure I give credit, right? Because he says it probably best. But it's a toy you can give your kid. And you don't got to worry about breaking it.
Yep.
They can hold it. It's solid. It's durable. I broke one. That was me being stupid. But I absolutely love the Spero toys. They are really my introductory, into the fantasy figures, and that's really what sprawled into the Savage and even Masterverse. As you can see my picture here, this is one that I took a while ago. I took a bunch of the armor from the Savages, started putting them on, the Savage He-Man figure, and playing with that space. But he's done a great job of taking something old and making it completely new with this. And to me, that's the reason I wanted to talk about these guys last, is because that to me is the innovation above all. That is the independent toy line at its purest with the AWalk. He
Yeah.
took something that could touch the 80s kids, the 90s kids, and any kid who collected an action figure then, and he did it in such an amazing way that the
I
kids today can enjoy it and the adults too.
I think one of the things like with AWalk that Jason did well is, as you just said, right? You look at the colors and the way, I mean, outside of the weapons being extremely sharp, right? I mean, pointy and hard. I mean,
Yeah.
he took a line that has got bright colors. It's got, interesting characters that, are named things that kids can, like adults struggle with Mythic Legion's names, right?
Right.
If you tell a kid Atreyu, I mean, I learned Atreyu when I was a kid watching, the Neverending Story. So, I mean, it's not a name I have a problem with, right? Or Pale or things like this, right? So you take their
Yeah. Blight.
vibrant colors and you got, the vibrant color, accentuating armor that goes with these characters, and then the durability. And if you take an AWalk figure, you paint it up a little bit, it could fit right into the Mythic Legions line, So he kind of
Oh yeah.
really danced that line of I want something fun for kids, durable, and then also can be, fit in with all the other fantasy lines. And then on top of that, you take the fact that, if you look at the original AWalk, which you're looking for right now, the 4-inch versions, and then what he took
Yeah.
those characters and did with them in 6-inch form is just amazing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's a really good video on YouTube from the Toy Addicts where they talk about what was a failed, which I don't think it was necessarily a failed line. I don't know enough about it, but I think
It
you can't look
wasn't.
back
It
and see
wasn't.
it.
It wasn't a fail, but it wasn't successful as far as It
Right.
wasn't like
And
whoa.
I would argue that it's massively successful at this point because it led to the 6-inch. It led to the reboot that he's done with this
Yeah,
novel,
100%.
the graphic novel. And I mean, of all of the things we talked about, I know that Bobby Vala has talked about a movie, and he's talked about that on a number of streams and stuff. But of all of the IPs we've talked about, the AWalk has, in my opinion, the most credibility to go to something that could be a Netflix or an Amazon Prime or a YouTube
I would
show.
love. I would
Um,
love to see them do a really good animated series of AWOC.
yeah, absolutely.
Not even like it doesn't even have to be like super adult themed or bloody and everything else like people want their adult cartoons, right? Just make it a solid cartoon that's enjoyable to watch that sticks to the lore, right? Like the lore they've already developed. If they did
Yeah,
that, with the right art, I mean, shit, it could be hugely successful.
yeah. No, I mean, I love it. They've done a great job. I think I think the presence that Jason has put out there. I have a ton of hope. What is your hope for the future of this line specifically?
Well, with everything that they've showed, right? I think the biggest problem that Spiro has as far as adversity right now is just getting enough push to get into the factories, and not get bumped out by the
Oh yeah,
Hasbros and the Mattels, right? Um,
yeah.
because they're like every figure they showed off at that last when they did the last Kickstarter, right? It was just like holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, right? And it's like
No sleep till Mamba,
right,
brother.
right, they're amazing figures. I agree with Terrence. What Terrence is saying here, though, um, I know they're doing like the figure versions of the current characters, but if they release like some actual like
He-Man type
He-Man type
scaled
characters that
humans
were
and
good good and bad
just the
guys, right? That
barbarians.
kind of
Yeah,
worked in with them, right? They could be however they wanted to do them, right? But I mean, there's humans in the book, so I mean, it
like
work.
they could like if they create if like I imagine, and again I don't know exactly how we get from. I know the lore from the first 5 issues, and the 6th issue. I think if I've seen that one, I don't know. It all jumbles together, but I know that that stuff, and but I know what they previewed at Joe Fest was
Yes,
those humanoid pales and blights. I believe is
right.
who it was, and if those, there's no reason they couldn't introduce other humans that are unrelated to those individual characters that we never see the animal anthropomorphic versions of, that is just a group of those people. So
Right.
I'm very excited to see what they do with it. I think they've opened the door.
I think it
I
really is
think
going
they
to
have an
depend on how
opportunity.
well they sell, right? If the
Yeah,
human versions of these characters sell well, you'll probably see more. If they don't, we're probably not going to see many more. So, if you
yeah.
like it and you want to see more human characters in your AWOC, you better go buy the
Oh, I
characters
will
you can.
absolutely be grabbing a number of them. I
And
need them in
Terrence
like a
says you
Kickstarter
should be
level.
in the tribe. Are you on the tribe?
I am the tribe. No, I'm not. I watch it when I can catch the replays because it's like middle of the days on Sundays. But the tribe is a great a show. I think they're doing it monthly now. They were originally doing it like bi-weekly.
Yeah.
Now I think they're doing it monthly to focus on it. I love it because any talk about AWOC is something I'm all about. So, um,
And
you know,
TD3 Trooper Troy Dotson's here saying he's late. What's up, my dudes? It's all right, Troy. We're a day late, so we're good, brother. Thanks for stopping in.
absolutely. My two favorite lines are Spero's AWOCs and the Savage Crucible stuff right now. Everything else just fills in the gaps for things that I want at this time, and those are my two favorites. When it comes to the independent creators and what they're doing.
The only thing,
Hey,
the one thing I'll
make the
say, like,
connection, Terrence.
uh, Tr- Jason, I don't know if you've seen him, but like he's doing the new YouTube shorts or short videos anyway of
Yep.
like what's on the table where he's reviewing like other lines, right? That's awesome stuff. You'd never see, a guy from Hasbro showing off, something from Mattel, right? You're just not going to see
Well,
that.
no, they got to go through all their marketing and
Right.
stuff, right? Yeah. Yeah. I think that Jason's. I'd have to double check it, but I wonder if he's working with the same guys from Toy Addicts. I've seen some videos from them with him on there. I think it's similar to what Bobby was doing with some of the work he was doing on Saturday morning shows and stuff. But I need a Saturday morning cartoon from Spero. If we get that, I'd be I'd be pumped. Sounds good, Terrence. Let's talk offline, brother. I'm down, man. I'm down. Oh, what did he say? Since we don't really have it, well, I missed that.
Oh, that one. Hold on. Where'd it go?
Yeah, I
I
didn't
lost
see
it.
that one before. I'm not sure where. Here it is. I got it.
Okay.
I'm not sure where that would play since we don't really have after school cartoons or Saturday mornings. You just put it on. You
Put it
just
on
put it on.
Hulu.
Amazon or Hulu or one of those streaming
Yeah.
services, and you sell it as a sell it to them, and they pay you for it. It's real original content. People buy that
Yep.
stuff. I know that's something my kids would watch, and I even think that I've heard Jason say stuff like kids consume their entertainment so much differently. They're like on
Yeah.
YouTube watching stuff all the time. Even honestly, even if they just gave us like a 2 minutes of Spero
Well,
cartoon,
yeah, you
like
think
two
about it,
minute,
right?
3 minute segments, just a little intro for 10 seconds,
The
pick up where
Simpsons
you
have been
left off,
around for
drop it.
however many years, right? Simpsons have been around forever now. And they started out as like a 5 minute segment on the Tracy Ullman
Yeah,
show, right? And if they
yeah,
did something like that, just did 5 minute segments.
just dropping them
How you
on
doing,
YouTube.
Raya?
That would be
Thanks for
awesome.
stopping in.
So that said, ton of hope for this line. I think the biggest hope for me for this line is some sort of animated IP content around the Animal Warriors: The Kingdom. I think
Well,
they have
it's
a
like you
great
said
story.
though.
I think
At
they have a
least
great product.
they're pumping out the lore as fat, like
Oh, I
as
love it.
quickly as they can, right? And
Yep.
they really got their lore tied up. Where like even Savage, they have their lore for their individual characters and a little bit of the whole thing. Mythic is finally like tying it all together. I guess you could say, right?
I think they're trying to make it official and make it
Yeah,
canon and
yeah,
try to
tie it all
canonize it.
together, I
Yeah.
mean, right? Put a nice little ribbon on it. So it's nice to
Yeah.
see, right, that they're doing that. Valaverse, they have their
Fallon did a great job with a bunch of the comics too early
yeah,
on when he was trying to hold the place between COVID and shipments and stuff.
yeah,
But
exactly.
that stuff's kind of all went on the backside. They did the book. I picked that up. Like I'm all about
Yeah,
that
he was
lore.
supposed, he was
So
supposed to have a movie out, which
yeah,
I wish that would come out so I could watch it. But
yeah, yeah, I'd be all for it. That said, the real impact of toy makers, right? They make what we actually want. I think that's what we've all said, right? Someone in the chat, I don't want to take credit away. I think it might have been Endless Brian there mentioned that Jason walked down the aisles and he saw the same stuff that he saw when he was a kid growing up in the toy aisles.
yeah,
He wants to see new things on those shelves. And I think that's what we want. We want something new, but with a fresh take. I don't want the Ninja Turtles, 17 different manufacturers producing it. Like, I love the Ninja Turtles, don't get me
yeah.
wrong, but like I want the
It's
Ninja Birds. I don't know, something different,
right.
like
I feel the
unique.
same way. I watched this reel today. It was a guy and his girlfriend, wife, whatever, whoever she was, and they were standing out in front of a movie theater, right? And they're like the comment on the reel was something like, "Is the timeline broken?" Because at the movies was another Jurassic World,
Superman.
Stitch, How to Train Your Dragon,
Oh
and
yeah,
some other
yeah,
movie that was out, uh, a remake of those Smurfs, right? So like all these
yeah.
movies that have been in theaters and been around
Fantastic
forever,
Four.
right? It's like all of a sudden it's all back out, right? And I felt the same
Yeah,
way walking down the toy aisle. That's why I kind of shifted to indies because it was, I'm like, holy shit, these are the same toys I'd walk down the aisle with when I was a kid. I walked
yep,
down the aisle and saw these same toys when my son was 5, and here I
yep.
am, he's 20, and it's still the same toys.
Exactly,
Yeah, that's
exactly.
part we talked about that in the beginning, Terrence. Uh,
Yep.
Even the big toy companies are risk averse, and yes, the retailers are risk averse as well.
Yeah, and that's why these independent creators are awesome, right?
I
Because
like it,
think
Nolan.
about this. Think
Samurai
about this.
Pizza
Yeah,
Cats.
Samurai Pizza Cats. I'm down for it. Like, create it, man. Use AIs, gen up some mock-ups, and let's get this happening. No. That said, where was I going with this before I said that?
Sorry, I know the Samurai
Oh, the
Pizza Cat
gamble.
just got
No,
you
no,
going, right?
no, no, no. The gamble. The gamble. That's what we're talking about. These. I said it earlier. You have these mainstream, vendors. You have Hasbro, Mattel. They do great work, right? But they're risk adverse, right? They're like, what am I going to get the biggest return on investment? Like,
Yep.
and I get it. They got shareholders report too, but how can we not champion the heck out of these independent toy makers that are risking it all? They're Bobby. I don't care what people feel or think about him. He's risking it all. You got Jason risking it all. You've got Rob. They're all going out there. You've got the Four Horsemen people, right? Like I'll take them out of the group and I'll take Ramen out of the group because it's slightly different. But you have these three independent creators that have either been a part of the industry at a higher level for those big guys, or they've worked on their own stuff and then been supportive,
Yeah.
agents, or completely completely independent. Rob, if I remember correctly and understand the history, kind of came through that pack of supporting the custom figs stuff for the Four Horsemen, right? Which then led to the Savage stuff over time. You have Bobby, who went through the toy stuff, worked for a number of different things from Hasbro, and there's a couple other smaller ones there. Then you have Jason, who went to school for it, did some stuff, but this is all his own thing. Like, it's original. How can we not like want to support these people who, one, are risking it all to do something that they're so passionate about and enjoy and love, that they're trying to give back to everyone, but then additionally, like, doing it in a way that, like, the product, and this counts for everybody, all the groups that all the people we've talked about today, they're putting stuff out there that is top notch quality. These are, it's top quality, it's great lore. They engage with us. They're on our shows. They're in our chats. They're in the Instagram stuff. They're posting, communicating with all of us up and down. I can't tell you, when I first started kind of in my own ventures, Rob Post, talked to him. Jeremy Gerard from Four Horsemen, talked to him. Jason from Spero, talked to him. Heck, when I was at PowerCon, had conversation with Bobby. Like, those are four of, like, some of the people that are in this group of independent creators that had no reason to even respond to my messages, right? But they were like, oh, hey, this goes back to your point, what you saw at Joe Fest, helping each other.
Yep.
So they're doing that. And then the big guys, again, and this is not criticism of individuals at Hasbro or individuals at Mattel. This is about the brand that they work for, not allowing them likely to have those same levels of engagements that these independent creators can do. And
Well, you think about it, right? Joe
let's
Fest, Joe Lanta, DFW Joe, right? No Hasbro representation there, right?
yeah.
Mattel, PowerCon, they dropped out of that, right? And it's not about the people that are working those brands not wanting to be there. It's about
Right.
the corporation not wanting them to be there in case something happens, or bad publicity, something,
Sad.
right? Or
Not
something
it's
gets
not where they
bad,
it's
or
not where they want to invest their dollars.
a
It's not
leak
where they want to
gets
invest their
out, right?
dollars.
Yeah, they don't want to invest their dollars.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
uh
So
Brian saying, let's just run through these last few chats real quick. Brian saying that
yeah.
Mega J said there will never be a Dino Riders because Mattel would be competing with themselves at Jurassic Park. Yeah, but they could do a Jurassic Park Dino Riders. They don't have to tie it all into the movie. They own that. They have that license, and they did some
They
of
could
that weird stuff back when Jurassic Park was out. And since Jurassic World, they haven't done any of that.
they could spin off their own
That's what I say. They
approach to
could
the IP.
do
They could
a
take, like, a
Jurassic
graphic
Park
novel
Dino
comic.
Riders. Yeah.
Right. They could take it in a different direction. Like, they could branch the worlds and go con this way and retcon this there, and they could have it, like, completely, using it in the future, like 200 years later, right? Like, because they brought them back or whatever. They could do their own thing if they wanted to.
There's only two 1/12 scale Cowboys out there right now that you can pre-order off of 5K Toys, and I believe they're based on one of the video games. I'm not sure which one it is. A skunk just sprayed outside of my house. That's awesome. Radnom is here. What's up, Radnom?
What's up, Brad? So, Ed,
Dinosaurs and
as you're
Cadillacs.
pulling up those last ones, I
That
think
was
you
an
put
awesome
that's the last one,
cartoon.
right?
Yeah, that's it.
So, as we're kind of wrapping up here on this one, the impact, which indie brand do you think is next to blow up? And hold on, before you answer that, pull up that Endless Fable thing. Have you not seen their pro wrestling ultimate figures, man? Okay, I'm done. Go ahead, Ed.
What was the question?
What indie brand do you know that is next, that you're aware of, that you think is on, could be the next one to blow up? One that we didn't mention tonight.
Hold on a second. Thanks, Terrence. Yeah. John Martson
Marstrom,
and
Arthur Morgan.
Arthur Morgan from Red Dead Redemption. Yeah. You can pre-order those on 5K Toys or Toy. I can't remember the name of the other place that has them, but they're like $100 roughly. Jetman. Yeah, I agree. Grindhouse Toys will be a very big blow up when that Kickstarter actually lands.
Okay.
Those are the guys doing the World War Hell.
Yeah. No, I saw them. The
I
prototype
guess it
boxes and
depends.
stuff.
Like if you're talking like be successful, I think when Brutal Rum finally hits, they're gonna take off, and I think Grindhouse Toys will definitely uh, take off.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think the one, I'm a little biased here. It's the Almighty Legends. I think they have an opportunity to blow up because of the strategic alignment with Savage Crucible, and if they leverage that connection and what they have from those molds and that partnership, I think they have a strong opportunity to, depending on how that all arrangement all works out, I think they have the opportunity to parlay the strength that Savage has into their own stuff that I otherwise may not have been as interested in. But because Savage is putting up such a strong front,
Yeah, I
if
think
these packs and those characters are as good as they look and they seem to be, I think they have a strong opportunity to
I
blow
think
up.
they're going to do good because of the accessories and the wings. Um, I think the struggle they're going to have is again, it's tied to the Bible, and I have no personal issue with that,
Yeah.
but I know like the biblical adventures figures,
D7.
yeah, they're great looking figures, but I think they struggle to get out there just because of the tie-in to the Bible as well, right?
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
and it's one of those things. It's such a weird thing because people say, "Oh, well, it's because of this, or it's because they're tied to the real world too much, or whatever," right? But it's like I look at the Fresh Monkey Fiction agent figures that are just like dudes in suits with sunglasses on, right? I'm like, I'd love
Yep.
about 15 of those, right? Who cares if they're dudes in suits with sunglasses
Right.
on?
Right.
It doesn't stop me, but I know there's a lot of people out there that if it isn't a superhero or if it isn't an alien, space marine or whatever, right, that they don't want it in their collection, and that's fine.
Yeah, and I'm right there with you, Terrence. I didn't pre-order them, but I do need to take a look at potential birthday gifts for myself later in the year because I do want to get those I do want to get those wing sets. There's like I
Yeah,
think two characters and an extra wing set that I want just to
yeah.
have.
They got what Gabriel and Michael coming out first, I think, right?
I think those are
Gabriel
the
and
two.
I think those are the two.
I
Yeah.
think those are the
I
two.
mean, I like the way
So
those figures look from the get go. I mean, they were just great looking figures.
yeah,
Terrence saying he did buy D13 minus
not
naked
D17. I
biblical
said D13.
characters. Okay.
Yeah,
Um, did you say earlier that Mythic Legions have a He-Man license? No, they used to design the He-Man figures, and now they do homage characters to
they were like
He-Man.
the sculpt. They were like the sculptors and stuff
Right.
for
Yeah.
the Mattel line, right?
Right. Yeah. And now they
Yeah.
do homage characters like they did Moss Man and a He-Man, a Skeletor homage, and I think I can't remember the other ones that they've done, but um, damn, Travis put his microphone in his cup and poured coffee over it or water.
No, I
I
had
know it's
water
not
that
coffee
wasn't in
because you don't
ice.
drink coffee.
No, no, I do. I do actually now. I moved away from all the energy drinks and I drink more coffee.
Yeah,
Actually,
I
just
I
black.
agree with that, Brian. That the biblical adventure figures and the Harvinger Studios Collegiate Legends are not action figure lines for collectors.
Yeah,
They
I
worked
didn't
on
realize that was so
200X for
audible.
He-Man.
My
Thank you,
apologies.
Terrence. That's what it was. Yes, and they
My
did the
apologies
Stratus
there.
homage, Jetman. That's
Yep.
correct.
Yeah.
Whew.
So as you can see, what's in your crate? Little shout out here for Hella Dope and Random Diorama. Again, Hella Dope is trying to get out to the 1,000 subs. So that said, what's in your crate? We want to know what mini lines other folks are collecting. I think a lot of us in this room right now probably collect a lot of similar items or have some crossover there. But you know, what ones do you collect if maybe we haven't already mentioned them tonight? And then what's one figure that from that line that you're collecting that made you sit there and say this is different in a good way from your mainstream figures? Because I don't think anyone here or anyone watching likely came into the independent toys just to get an independent toys. They likely came from a crossover of some other thing. Though it is possible that as an adult collector you never collected before, and then you all of a sudden saw something that reminded you,
Yeah.
let's say a Spero AWOC toy, bring back some of that nostalgia feel of something old but new again, and jumped in. But I imagine most probably were collecting a little something else.
Yeah, that'd be a good show we could do sometime too. Talk about like when a new indie toy pops up, what makes you decide to go in? What makes you decide to go all in? Or do you wait till it goes to like BBTS or like available on their website and just pick out one, right? That'd be a
Yeah,
that'd be a
Kickstarter
good,
conversation.
right? Yeah, good Kickstarter or
Yeah.
independent toy line. What makes you decide to back it or whatever, right?
Okay. Awesome. That's what I got tonight, Ed. That's the main topic. Don't have next week's topic, material generated, but we got some stuff on the
Yeah, we'll figure it
frying
out.
pan starting to sizzle.
We should be back on Tuesday next week, so look for
Yes,
us
sir.
there.
That's the plan. We'll be back.
Thanks everybody
Tuesday
for
next
hanging out
week.
with us on this 24-hour late stream.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That said, Terrence and me are very similar.
Yeah, he's all out or all in. Yeah, Terrence, that's
Yeah.
how Travis buys. I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'm not getting any of them.
And the other thing is that I love the deal, right? I love backing a Kickstarter that I have
Yeah.
confidence in that it's going to come to fruition, because like you get such a killer price on it. And
Well, that's the other thing,
like,
right?
I
With
feel like
Kickstarters, we could talk about in that show, right? Do Kickstarter exclusives or extras really, change your mind, right? I mean, that does make a difference to some people. Maybe not
not
you.
me. Yeah, no.
Good night, Action Joe
I'll
Figs,
just
brother.
try to
We'll
get
catch you
them.
later.
Awesome. So that said, Ed, wrapping up this week, what do you got going on the rest of this week?
I'll be all over the internet since it's Wednesday. Well, actually, I think Oz is doing the 24-hour SDCC show this weekend. I'm not sure if he is or not. I was off
Okay.
last Saturday because I was at a party, and this Saturday I have another concert that I have to go to, and I will be out of the clubhouse this Saturday as well.
Okay.
But I will be around with Punk on Thursday, Rad Nam on Friday, late night Craft and Chill. Sunday back with the Hella Dope Boys launching their Road to 1000 venture, and Monday back with Punk, and then Tuesday back here with you, brother.
Awesome. So that's good, and I'll be around on Tuesday next week. We appreciate you guys tuning in tonight.
Yep.
Really appreciate folks kind of shifting their schedule with us to support it. Checking out the replay if you're catching a replay. But most of all, I just want to say thank you and to stay wonderful.
Step up, strike a pose, it's the ToyLeet crew. From Max and Stacks to Toy Thunder, yeah, we break through. Unbox the fire, showcase the find. Collectors worldwide, all one of a kind. ToyLeet, we set the pace. Elite with the heat in this plastic race. ToyLeet, not just a name, we're the culture, the vibe, the collecting flame. Click, snap, pose, it's more than display. We stack with style, redefining play. Custom builds, epic drops, from stream to shelf, we never stop. It's not just toys, it's legacy we stack. ToyLeet's the movement, and we're never looking back.